Hello, and welcome to episode 32 of The Wondrous Do You Expect Us to Talk? I'm your host, Rebecca, and with me always are the amazing Chris and Dave. Say hi.
Good evening, folks.
Hello.
So you noticed we took a bit of a break. We counted down our 007 favourite episodes. We are back, finally discussing Casino Royale. No, not that one, the Daniel Craig version.
Oh shit, hang on, I watched the wrong film. Fuck.
I watched
Woody Allen
Climax.
Climax.
And after that, I watched the Climax version of Casino Royale. Carry on.
I think Climax means something different in the 50s to how it does now.
I
don't know.
I don't know. But, yeah, we are talking about the Daniel Craig version.
Yes, probably. I think spoiler alert for this episode, but probably one of the best Bond films in our humble opinions, I think.
I think I would not be surprised if it ends up being the best of our lifetime, full stop. Majesties was made before any of us were born. There's not been a better Bond film in my lifetime, and I don't expect this to be matched anytime soon.
It is pretty magnificent, isn't it, really? But Becca, do you want to introduce the... you rattled down the old cast list, have you?
No, not all of it. That's about
Well, you got as far as
introduction
Daniel
this
Craig.
week.
And I think I said that, to be fair. So we'll shut up. Becca, tell us about Casino Royale.
I didn't actually write anything else in my introduction. That was it.
All right, well, it stars some other people too.
It's written by a person and
But
directed
see,
by
I
a
saved your
person.
bacon there because I was clued in and ready.
Okay, well, from memory, we've got Jeffrey Wright, you got Caterina Mourinho, can't pronounce her name, Mads Mikkelsen, Eva Green, I think, Neil Purvis, Robert Wade, and Paul Haggis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Directed by Martin Campbell and released in 2006. There we are, done it.
Yes!
Fantastico. Yeah. So, Dave, what of your apart from like being pretty fucking great? What general thoughts have you got going in?
Well, general thoughts. I suppose before we actually get to what we think of the film, I ought to sort of just finish off the story of how we ended up here. It's much, much shorter than the whole sort of Thunderball story and Never Say Never Again. But it is linked to all of those things. Casino Royale was the first book, and very soon after writing it, Ian Fleming sold the rights to CBS for their Climax TV show for $1,000, which, even allowing for the fact that inflation will render any amount of money worthless over time, that does sound incredibly cheap. It was an hour-long teleplay with an American Jimmy Bond. Mathis and Vesper sort of combined into Valerie Mathis, one character. And then later in the 50s, he sold the rights for $6,000 to, and the gentleman's name escapes me, but it basically ended up at Columbia Pictures under Charles K. Feldman. Around the same time as Longitude 78 West was being written independently, which led to all the Kevin McClory stuff we've talked about before. And there it laid. Kevin McClory did a deal with the producers, and Thunderball got made. They couldn't do a similar deal with Charles Feldman, and we ended up with the 1967 spoof. What you then had in the years that followed is it co-owned by United Artists and Sony. Well, Sony had no desire to co-make it with the producers of the official series, United Artists. That did them no good. But they didn't own the whole rights to sort of make it by themselves. Fast forward to just post Never Say Never Again. Kevin McClory immediately announces plans for a sequel called Spectre. Not that Spectre, but it never came to anything. 4 years later, you're going to see a pattern here. 4 years later, he announces Warhead 8, and that never gets made. And in 1992, he announces 26 one-hour episodes of his James Bond television show. Never got made. Fast forward to around the time Tomorrow Never Dies is being made. Kevin McClory finally pitches up with Sony, manages to convince them that he has the rights to make this series of films. So he now pitches up at Sony. Sony announce a series of films. They are in talks with Liam Neeson to star in it, and it goes into pre-production. Eon injunct, And this is where the story starts heading towards its conclusion. Kevin McClory and Sony countersue. They countersue, and this is the first time they mention that Kevin McClory now believes he has the right to the cinematic James Bond. That the Thunderball script and the bits that went into it that changed the character from the dour, introverted book version to the sort of charming secret agent we know from the screen version. That pushed it to a head, frankly, because when it went to court, the judge preliminarily ruled in Eon's favour.
Well, clearly, Exhibit A, Goldfinger.
Exhibit A, Goldfinger, exactly. Well, yeah, but Goldfinger's made afterwards, and also he believed Richard Maybaum had seen his Thunderball script. But anyway, the fact remains they ruled against Eon, ruled in Eon's favour, said that he had no such right. That was finally confirmed 2 years later in 1999. And one of the things in the final judgment was, or actually it was settled out of court, but the preliminary judgment said that he had the 1963 case, he had cases in the 70s and early 80s, and at no point then did he claim ownership of the cinematic character James Bond. So to suddenly come out with it in the late 90s, they found incredible, to say the least. They settled out of court, MGM and Sony. MGM tied up Never Say Never Again, just to bolster their case that they own all cinematic versions of the character. They paid Sony $5 million for the rights to Casino Royale, and in return, I can't remember which way round it was. One was 5 and one was 10, but they sold the rights to Spider-Man, because MGM were going to make that with James Cameron in the early 90s. So now, in the year 2000, Eon own Casino Royale. We've then got the point where Die Another Day is made, and frankly, if anything was going to speed it being made, it was that pile of shit.
It made a lot of money, though. It made a lot of money, though.
It did.
When you watch the special features to this film, Barbara Broccoli's interviewed, and she says more than once on there and on the commentary that her and Michael G. Wilson were, and the word she uses, frustrated by the direction of the series. It had gone too fantastical, and she said that it was at the end of another cycle, and I think she's alluding to that cycle of bloat and purge we've discussed many times.
Yeah.
Alongside that, Purvis and Wade were developing a Jinx script for the Halle Berry spin-off, and reportedly that version of the script their script for Jinx was nothing like Die Another Day. It was a much smaller, much more personal story. And it really whetted their appetite for a film more of that type. And Michael G. Wilson said to Barbara, why don't we just make Casino Royale? And from that moment, it was set in stone. They decided, as it's the first book, it needed to be an origin story, and that really put the end to Pierce Brosnan's tenure. And in 2004, he was let go. Lots of nasty stuff in the rumours and stuff in the papers saying that it was, he was asking for too much money and so on. The fact is, he wasn't right for the story they wanted to tell. The first name off Barbara Broccoli's lips when they talked about a new casting was Daniel Craig, but they did, however, scour the globe. They asked Martin Campbell to return. They had done many times over the years, but this time he said yes. And they scoured the globe and tested, I believe, or saw or spoke to over 200 actors. A month before Craig was announced, we were down to 5. And I've always known that three of those 5 were Daniel Craig, Goran Visnich, and Henry Cavill. I found out the names of the other 2 today.
Oh, right.
The 4th was Sam Worthington.
No.
Yep, Sam Worthington was in the final 5, screen tested for this role. Full day of filming, and the final name was a guy called Alex O'Loughlin.
Never heard of him.
Well, I believe he's in the Hawaii Five-0 television show.
Okay.
But I've never seen that. But
is he American?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It was just a name, and I didn't know the name. And to be honest with you, the 2 serious candidates
were Henry Cavill.
And again, it did sort of back up some of what I said in the past about Martin Campbell was the one who kept Henry Cavill in the frame and under consideration right to the end. Yeah. And they were the final 2. But Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, both of the opinion that yes, he's a new 00, but he should be a veteran agent. Michael G. Wilson, around the time of The Living Daylights, had done a treatment for a 22-year-old Bond and said it was wrong. He wasn't right for the character.
It was too much like James Bond Jr.
Yes, yes, I think so. And not only that, there is some emotional and some physical mileage on the man, and there always should be. So he's a veteran agent, but a newly minted 00. But Barbara Broccoli's first name to mind was Daniel Craig. He was always the favourite, and he was cast in October 1995.
Hooray!
And the rest
Thank goodness he was.
Is history.
Yes, folks. For a more elongated version of what Dave's just told you, go and watch the Everything or Nothing documentary. It's really fascinating.
And it's also about 20 pages or so at the end of the Battle for Bond book.
Yes,
by Robert Sellers.
Highly recommend it.
There's also like the little tidbit of Tarantino wanted to do Casino Royale as well with Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, the 60s.
And he was pretty pissed because he basically sort of went off in a huff and going like, well, they kind of like stole my idea. They kind of said that I offered them, I suggested my idea, and he said no, thank you, and then he went and made Casino Royale, and it was like,
I've heard.
Hold on a minute.
I've heard him argue. I think it might have been on Jonathan Ross a few years ago.
Yeah.
I saw him say that the producers of Bond had claimed Casino Royale to be unfilmable, and that it was only when he talked about it for a bit, and he wanted to set it in the 50s with Uma Thurman as Vesper, and set with Pierce Brosnan after the death of Tracy. It went as far as Pierce Brosnan tells a story about going to a penthouse bar with Tarantino and getting extraordinarily drunk, talking about these things. I find that difficult to believe. I mean, I believe the piss up, and I believe that Tarantino believes he's telling the truth. But I think there's a world of difference between saying something's unfilmable and saying it's not a film.
Yeah.
And I think Casino Royale, the book, is clearly... Well, and I don't just mean because it's a book, but in story, it's not a film. You have to take the essence of it and do other things with it. There's nothing about that film that's unfilmable. There's nothing about the story that's not filmable. They have changed some details, and we'll get to them as we talk through the film. One of the biggest things in order to make it palatable to an audience is they use Texas Hold'em instead of Baccarat. Because most people
it's more commonly played, isn't it?
It's more commonly played, and whilst there's not a lot of people, there's a lot of people out there who've never played poker. It's just one of those things you can pick up quite quickly.
Yeah, and it also updates, for today. Obviously, this film, Casino Royale, 10 years old now. Oh my god! But yeah, it brings it for a modern audience, doesn't it?
It does.
A lot of people don't know what Baccarat is.
I'm not a card player myself. I don't know any really card games. Other than maybe Snap or something. But
that would have been awesome. That's how he can set up a
5-hour game of Snap.
Yeah.
That's how he's able to set up a high stakes top game with Casino Royale in Montenegro.
Shall we raise the stakes, Mr. Bond? Buckaroo?
That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, we're into the final stretch now. It's Hungry, Hungry Hippos!
Right, get Barbara and Michael on the phone. We're going to make this movie.
I just imagine Bond getting poisoned and this sinister movie's being kicked in while everyone else around the table's leaning forward and playing Operation.
I was thinking just the same thing. Like, all you hear is somebody's removing a liver. Like, oh.
So
anyway, yeah, back on point.
Yeah. Not a card playing butts.
Yeah, I'm not card player, so it doesn't really make any difference to me. It's like, it's like a form of, I don't know, poker or something. It's just like, I don't really understand it, so I just go, okay, that's a good hand, is it? Okay. Like, okay, I just believe whatever the film tells me to believe in regards to that. So for me, the differences between Baccarat and is it Texas Hold'em? Yeah. Makes no scrap of difference to me whatsoever. The purist in me would probably prefer Baccarat, but I'll be honest, you could tell me that the game they play in that is Baccarat, and I'd be like, yeah.
Their story is in the camera work, their faces, the music cues.
Well, that's it, exactly. The card game is the MacGuffin. It's not about what they're playing. It's all about the drama between them and how the one-upmanship and almost like, I don't know, brinkmanship / blinkmanship almost between Bond and Le Chiffre. So that's what's really at play here, rather than the card game itself. So
this was a risky film in a lot of ways. I mean, it's the last Fleming novel to be adapted, albeit it was the first Fleming novel. The book is not, it's not unfilmable, but it's not a film. You have to do things with it because basically the book is kind of the middle third plus a bit of the film. Sorry,
Yeah.
And you've got. I think it's easy now to forget the storm there was around Daniel Craig's casting.
oh god, people hated it, didn't they? There was that Craig Not Bond website, and people were railing
It's
at
still
him because he
running.
was blonde. You just think, oh, what the hell?
I do remember the day he was announced. It was October 2005, and he had just been filming The Invasion. And if you've ever seen The Invasion, he's fairly slight in it, and he's also got that one of those curtains haircuts with a party in the back. And he got taken down the Thames by the Royal Marines to wherever this press conference was being held. He didn't look the part at this point.
No, he really
Boy,
didn't.
did he
No,
a few
I remember
months
that.
later. And it was one of the most awkward press conferences I've ever seen. Because Daniel Craig, in a one-on-one interview, can be quite witty, acerbic, good company, but he's not the right dynamic for a press full of people throwing questions at him. I also remember there was a journalist in inverted commas.
Was he from The Sun or something?
I think it was The Sun.
Oh god.
And her first question was something about who would be your ideal Bond girl, Kate Moss or Sienna Miller. Well, it was being rumoured at the time in the press, never proven either way, that he was having an affair with Sienna Miller. And it was just mischief making. And they came back to her a bit later in the interview, and she asked a very similar question. And when they were asking Daniel, why he would like the role, he was like, why not? It wasn't the greatest of starts. I wouldn't say it put me on edge. I was like, well, let's wait and see. But no, I don't think many people will have watched that press conference and gone, this is a great choice.
I'm trying to remember what I thought. I mean, I did find the whole, backlash. I think it was predominantly, just a certain group of people shouting very loudly, rather than, a whole, wash of, oh my god, no, what? Him as Bond? Oh my god, because for starters, a lot of people go, but he's blonde, and I'm like, well, Roger Moore wasn't exactly dark-haired, was he?
Exactly.
For starters, and it was just like, well, give the guy,
I'd have understood
give the guy a
that
chance.
more.
He's a good actor for starters.
I mean, from a height perspective, admittedly, his predecessors were all very similar in height. But if you line up the previous 5 James Bonds, they're not exactly an identikit, are they?
No.
They all look different.
They all look different, all different nationalities,
So I didn't have a problem with that. But what made it worse was the press started joining in.
And it was all it should have been Clive Owen, someone who was never in consideration. It should have been Clive Owen. Why? Because he's done a couple of films.
Because he wore a tux in the film.
He wore a tuxedo in
Yeah.
that one film that he was in. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I like Clive Owen, but I've never.
I don't. His voice sends me to sleep.
Well, okay, but I don't have a problem with him. But I just can't. I can't. Actually, the thought of casting him, especially at that time, just seemed a bit lazy as well. A bit well, that's a bit obvious.
Plus, he was already into his 40s. Its time had come and gone. But yeah, I mean, there was but I remember filming then got underway, and I seem to remember reading in the press, and I've seen it since in special features and stuff, reminders of this stuff. But I do remember at the time there was a rumour that he couldn't drive a car, so they had to get him an automatic. There was rumours mocking him as a wimp because he had his teeth supposedly knocked out in a fight.
I've wondered that. Is that actually true?
I think he had a caps dislodged or something, but even so, these things happen. I mean, if you punch the hardest person in the world on the teeth, you might break them. It doesn't make them a wimp.
Yeah.
But the whole...
If
the
anything,
Mirror were calling
that's-
him James Bland, and the whole press in the lead-up to Casino Royale was astonishingly negative. And you had the typical insider bollocks, which you get with the Daily Mail to this day, and other such papers, where it was an insider says this is nothing like a Bond film and da-da-da-da-da. And so at the point where this film came out, following, albeit a bad Bond film, but a very popular Bond, this could have backfired badly.
Luckily enough, it didn't.
Yeah, it's the first time the franchise has actually rebooted or kind of done right, we're going back to, going back to an origin, when you're not like picking it up, and it's not just like, oh well, it's just the same character but it's a completely different story. You don't need to see. This is like right, scrap everything to 1-4. This is year one. This is like a brand new start.
Like Bond Begins.
It's basically, yeah. I mean, it was like tagged that at the time, and it was just like it was just like, oh, okay.
Largely because it was released about 18 months after Batman Begins.
Yeah, we had the Bourne franchise, didn't you? You had the Batman Begins kind of reboot as well.
I think it's so easy now, Becca, to forget, because we've had reboots galore.
We have, yeah.
That wasn't the case when this came out. You'd had Batman, and this was all very sort of brave.
Yeah.
It was quite new, wasn't it? Especially for, it's the longest running movie franchise ever. And to kind of say, right, okay, we're now going to rewind everything, and this is going to be year zero. No. This was, I mean, as you're saying, like, in the last 5 years, we've had reboot after reboot. With Bond, it was unheard of at the time.
I always thought at the time it was a good idea, but obviously, being a Bond fan, I was like very keen on seeing it. But the risk was they have to get it right. They have to like give us a good Bond film to kick off with, because if we don't, this could pretty much end the franchise. Because,
we're better place to start than Casino Royale, really. Start with the first book, as it were.
Yeah. But they had a good story essentially to go off on. So, yeah, I was kind of excited. I was kind of excited to see the new. But the word I heard at the time, I think Dave alluded to what the press was like, and I think it was quite common in the reviews. If anyone had anything negative to say, was like it's. It was really good, but it just doesn't feel like a Bond film. And I think I had that feeling when I walked out initially. I've warmed up to that a lot more, because I just find it like just engrossing and watchable as ever. If it's one of those films where it's on whatever day of the week, like it's late at night, you're flipping your channel, you find Casino Royale. No matter what point you turn it on at, you are there. You're like hooked on it.
Yeah, you're going to watch it, aren't you? Pretty much.
It's very hard to drag you away. It's like, because it is that engrossing and it's that enjoyable that you just like, I'm staying to the end of this. And that's, to me, that is a mark of a great film that is well told. It's when it's films like that, when it gets you in that way.
Especially as well, and also like at the time, I think, because it was it was like just short of 2.5 hours. Like before Spectre came along, this is like the longest Bond movie.
It's a minute longer than On Her Majesty. It's, I think, a minute longer than On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah, definitely. But I just think it's kind of a film that long. It always kind of puts me off. You think, oh my god, it's going to be saggy, but no part of it sags. It's just, bang, 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 bang. It's really quick. It just, it moves along really quickly.
Yeah, the only negative thing I could possibly ever say, and I think a lot of people said this at the time as well, was the ending did feel like a bit kind of tagged on, like it sort of jazzed up just to give it an all-action ending, which I understand.
She took an overdose in the book.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, a little bit slight departure there from the end of the book, but...
But I understand the reason why they did that, and personally speaking, as a fan of the films, I'd want to see like a set piece to end on, rather than like, oh, was that it?
Fan servicey, I think, wasn't it?
I've never had a problem with it, and I think a lot of the reason I don't have a problem with it, we'll get to when we get through the film. It's saved by two performances. That scene. I mean, Eva Green in that elevator drowning is extraordinary, and Daniel Craig right afterwards is really extraordinary.
It's really well. I mean, his thing is like, it doesn't bother me that much because it's just on principle, and it's. And I suppose in terms of action set pieces, it's probably like the weakest one as well. But then again, that's not to say it's shit, because it's not. It's just like the lesser of. The one
thing that's always led me to defend it a little bit is that I have a problem in general with build to the biggest action scene and done. When we get to Marvel, you'll see it. Even a film I really like Guardians of the Galaxy, I check out in the last 20 minutes. Oh, here we are firing up at the sky again. I'm quite happy that the biggest bits of action aren't necessarily the last bits, because it feels less formulaic. And you can argue about the scene, to be honest with you. We needed her death to be portrayed somehow. We needed Bond to be there to be affected by it somehow, and it's not cinematic to come in and find her dead in the bath or whatever. So
it's more dramatic, isn't
I'm
it, this
kind
way?
of happy with it. I really am. The scene that we get into the film sequentially. What sold me on this film and astonished me: black and white cold open, no gun barrel at the original start, but we cut. We get Daniel Craig sat very quietly and menacingly in a section chief's office, head of section chief for Vienna, and it keeps cutting to this bathroom scene, which is the first kill, because the 00 is 2 zeros, 2 kills you need to get your 00. And the way he moves and the brutality they're throwing each other around with, you just metaphorically, figuratively sit up and take notice immediately, because possibly Lazenby aside, I can't see another Bond film in that sequence.
No, it's quite brutal, isn't it? That fight. I mean, I suppose we'll discuss it now, but it's just one of the most brutal scenes in the film. It's just, and in the series as well. You really, there's a line where he goes, "Oh, you made him feel it. Made you feel it, didn't he?" And it made us feel it, watching it as well. So. Yeah,
because he's genuinely shaken. He's difficult to kill, this guy. If you piece it together with the deleted scenes, he actually says, "Not a cricket fan, are you?" Because that's taking place in Lahore, Pakistan, at a cricket match. But you don't need it. You don't need it. Just Craig sat there and the little exchange they're having, and him saying he will have sent a 00. You've got your file shows no kills. You need 2. Mm-hmm. The moment he says that, he realizes he's the second kill.
That's it. Yep, game's up.
And it's magnificent. This scene. It's one of the best pre-titles in the entire series, with very little action in it.
I feel this would... I mean, I get the feeling that this was probably like his great... Like, I'm probably wrong, but it has the feel of a screen test. And then not in a negative way. It's just like... It's the idea... Like, if they were to screen test for a future Bond, it feels like a scene they would use to kind of like... Oh, let's see how you do. Because like before we had the one in Majesty's with Tracy... And I just imagine that'll be up there with one of them, one of the things that they might do to try out with like a new actor in the role.
There's a stillness to him,
yeah.
and even though it's not in colour, his eyes are very piercing, even in black and white.
And still at that point in the film where it's meant to be very early on, he's still quite assured in his performance as well, isn't he?
You got the 2 sequences when the one's like really rough, rugged, that fight scene in the toilet, and it's just like brutal.
And it's very grainy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got the one in the office where it's slick, and and the way like he just shoots the guy. It's just like and the second is, and he just flat out shoots him. He just yep, clicks the gun back safety off considerably, as if he's not even full.
Because he doesn't even finish his sentence, does he? You needn't worry. The second is much, and he's clearly going to say easier. He shoots him and says, yes, considerably. And then we've got a gun barrel of types.
Yeah, kind of like a fake gun barrel, I suppose.
It's better than any of the gun barrels that are followed from Craig, because the way he spins. If you look at, say, the Pushkin assassination in The Living Daylights, that always reminds me of it.
Yeah.
Loose cotton jacket, like really swift turn. And we cut into a very different yet familiar credit sequence, because it looks like nothing we've seen before, but it's unmistakably a Bond opening sequence.
As much as I do love Danny Kleinman's work, this is probably my favourite of anything that he's done for the Bond series. I mean, we'll get to the hentai tentacle porn when we discuss Spectre, but which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen him do. This is probably my favourite.
Which means that we're actually going to review some tentacle porn before we get on to Spectre. We've already reviewed Spectre once. We've got to pass out the running.
We've got to do it again. But no, this is probably my favourite. I mean, least of all because, well, one of my fun facts coming up later on is that there's no nude ladies in this title sequence. But that's probably my favourite.
You consider that a fun fact?
You do get.
Not very fun, is it?
You do get Eva Green in the face of the cards.
No, she's not naked though. She's not naked.
Oh, yeah, true. Sorry, I missed the naked part.
But no, lack of nudie ladies anyway. But no, it's undoubtedly it's the prettiest of all the series, and it looks completely different, and it tells like the whole Bond story as well. It's finely crafted. I just think amazing. It's even better on the big screen. This is probably my favourite Danny Kleinman title sequence.
I'd go along with that. I think now, because GoldenEye is starting to date, Skyfall's the only one I'd put anywhere near it.
I like it. I mean, it's very dour. It's very grim. It's quite depressing.
Yeah,
Skyfall's one.
There's not enough laughs in it for you.
No,
I mean, it could be the choice of song as well. I think that always helps it. I mean, what's really great about the Casino Royale is it has surprisingly great theme tune.
Yeah, what do you guys think of it on release? Because like when I first
on
heard
release,
it,
I was like, okay.
Like, to be honest, I'd never heard of him. That's really embarrassing, I know. But obviously, I've since discovered his work, and he's like my all-time favorite musicians. But and I think a while ago on the internet there was like an acoustic version of it released, and I was like, oh, this sounds quite good. But yeah, when it first came out, I was like, what? And then it was a real grower, but it took quite a time.
I had
for it to grow
Soundgarden albums, and so I got what the intention was straight away.
Yeah.
And David Arnold has since said, and I've heard him say it, the song is meant to say, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Yeah, exactly.
As soon as I heard Chris Cornell for a Bond theme,
you think,
right,
what?
they're going to have him really fucking hard in this. They're gonna merge literary and action in that they're gonna go dour and grittier, but have him like quite tough to say the least.
With
and
the
song,
as well,
the choice of singer showed me that.
Yeah, definitely. It's like Chris Cornell was the right choice for this film.
Yeah,
100%.
It was just surprising because I was like, really, that's a bit of an odd choice. And then when I actually heard the song, I wasn't like, well, I didn't think, oh, that was terrible. But I wasn't like, well, okay, that's new Bond song. But it just grew on me. It just like, and it's just like, I now to the point where it's one of my favourites. I absolutely love it. I think it's right up there, one of the best.
Yeah,
and I'm still surprised to say that because it is just basically just a crunchy rock song, which is not something that you would necessarily think of when you go to a Bond theme. Normally, kind of a lot more like swingy or classy.
I'm not
or
sure.
big
I'm not
and
sure it's
brassy,
appropriate for a film that's centered around a game of Buckaroo.
Or Snap.
Yeah.
Give a Snap, Mr. Bond.
I just the lyrics as well. You know.
Oh yeah. No, the lyrics are incredible.
You might think I've got feelings for you, but you know you're just the next, and this whole shut off kind of aspect to him, which is what the story's about. Bond opens his heart once, you know, and gets it broken and closes it over again. And this film shows you it all the way through. I think it's perfect.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love it. But
and together with the rich visuals,
yeah,
perfection.
It's right, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I love pretty much everything, most of the things about this film. So I'm just going to go. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
Well, it also reinforces what you've just seen because you've just seen Daniel Craig have a very gritty one-on-one fight in a toilet, basically, and they've used sort of motion capture to have that sort of built into the credits as well, where he's cutting through people, and there's just an efficiency to the way he moves. So if you weren't convinced by the pre-title, you come out of the credits going, yeah, he looks the part, he moves the part, and we've got nothing to worry about here.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Because at the end of the title sequence, you get 00 status confirmed, so it's pretty much this is Bond.
I heard one of the original ideas was for the title scene was actually like his 007 ID card being like made or something like that. Was kind of like a play with that, or something along those lines. But
action lamination.
Yes, basically. But obviously went with the whole card motif as well. So yeah, it's definitely something different as well. We've not seen pre-title sequence that is like this as well.
No, it's unique, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's just you see him in a suit, you see him moving well, and you just know you're going to be okay. And we come out, and the last thing about the song is the first time I heard it, I saw it with its video, and I think the scene we're about to get to is there's shots in that video like where he's in the embassy and you see him from behind walking into rooms and straight onto people.
Yeah, and
it's just like, my God, this guy's good at hand-to-hand, fighting filmically. So yeah, the only thing as we come out of the credits is what shirt did they decide to put him in?
Well,
it's the only kind of dodgy fashion moment that he makes.
We open with the Chief being introduced.
Ah, you're right. First rain in the Bond series.
Yeah,
that's true.
And filmed in England somewhere, meant to be Uganda.
Yeah, it's probably Black Park or something.
It
like
is
that,
Black
isn't it?
Park.
Yeah.
They were going to film, I forget where they say, the Czech Republic, but they couldn't find enough. They couldn't find enough of people of the right racial background to make that. So they did it in England. And, first time we see Rain and we're introduced to Le Chiffre.
Yeah, and Mr. White as well.
And
Mr. White, yes.
Yeah, and he's introducing him to some sort of
mysterious.
like... is he, like, he's not a dictator, but he's kind of one of them kind of
Uganda
arsehole...
warlord.
He's quite sort of high up, isn't he?
Kind of, yeah.
Mercenary, whatever. But they
yeah,
basically they introduce Le Chiffre as a financier, really. So who understands odds and will multiply your money for you.
Well, in the book, he's meant to be obviously, he's a mathematical genius, and he's always on about the odds and things like that. So I think I do love Mads Mikkelsen in this role. He's just supremely creepy. He's very slimy.
I watch it now. Now we've had the 4 Craig films, and just think, well, I wouldn't want to compromise this film, but wouldn't he be awesome as Blofeld?
Oh my god!
It's just like you've blown your wad too early in the Craig era, really.
No, that's it.
But he's
that would have been obviously post Hannibal as well. So I wonder, you've got that kind of loaded into the mix.
To be honest, I see him better as Le Chiffre, to be honest with you. I just suits the role for me a little bit more. I mean, don't be wrong, I would like to see him as a Blofeld type character. That would have been cool, but especially in a modern interpretation of him. But here I think he's great. He has a sense of creepiness, confidence, but he has a definite underlying of vulnerability to him as well. He's basically up shit's creek because he's just lost loads of money and now he's trying to regain that again. And obviously I like the little subtlety of Mr. White just like looking at him, just sort of going, I vouch for you, but I'm pretty sure like,
yeah, but if you lose, I'm going to shoot you.
Well, yeah, pretty much. It's just like, you're going to fuck up on you. Yeah.
And that's it, exactly. So all through this film, like, Bond, this is probably the most human we've seen Bond in a long time. But also this is kind of one of the more, with Mads Mikkelsen, he's probably one of the more, like, human villains, if that makes sense as well. As you're saying, you do feel like there's a vulnerability to him. Obviously, he's got the disability of the deformed tear duct. He's asthmatic, and he's just... You just think, oh crap,
He's sharp, he's calm, he's like, he's mysterious, but there are like levels of like panic and uncertainty about him. When times do get rough, it's like, it's not, the plot's quite clever. It doesn't always just go one way. It does. It's like the bit like in the middle of the film where Bond effectively does kind of save his ass. Right.
Yeah.
And ends up like fighting them Ugandans themselves. Is it Ugandans? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are things that like I just think are really kind of like clever and he's a fully rounded character. As for a villain, it's not just like I'm evil. Not like last week where we have like Mr. Sneerson. Go to sleep.
And if you hire someone with that name, they're bound to. What can you expect?
Be sneery.
It's really great, and but it's only a little bit of a tease of the characters. We've just seen him. We've seen this other guy who turns out to be Mr. White later on, and then we cut to Madagascar, shot actually in the Bahamas, but we've got the Madagascar sequence, which is Bond's first mission as a 00.
And
the first introduction to parkour freerunning in the series as well.
Yeah,
which is hot back then.
It was hot.
It was a new hot thing the kids were all into. So.
Yeah.
I think this is just a fantastic.
Which is really good because it would be an Angry Birds action sequence now. They'd all be playing.
Don't give them ideas, Dave.
And laser scooters.
Those
but it's
hoverboards.
an amazing chase scene, isn't it? It's a really brutal chase scene as well, and it's got none of like, Bond crashes into walls and falls over and injures himself and.
I said this when we appeared on, I think it was episode 5 of Pick a Flick. I don't know if those listening, you can go back and find it, where we talked about the Daniel Craig era. And I said that this film is one of the best I've ever seen for characterization through action. We are told so much about Bond here. He's not the Pierce Brosnan incarnation, which everything he touches, he's the world's greatest at. There's no relatability in that. The writers were very keen to say that you're not supposed to think you can just be him, but you at least understand his decisions and what he's doing, and in an alternate world you might be. And he's not as good as Sebastian Foucan at parkour, quite obviously.
Yeah.
But he finds ways to make it work. So he will go through things and under things and over things to try and cut his route and try and slow this guy down.
He just has different methods. It's like, okay, fine, you do that, I'll do this. And it's like he's more practical. He's kind of like just thinking about shortcuts and things that he can actually do. And while he's because he's skilled and all that, he's doing all the flippy around stuff. So I mean, it's like the perfect thing is when he does go through that small gap in the top of that wall, and Craig goes, "Hang on, that's just plywood." And he just runs through it.
No, I'm just going to run through that.
So it's a good comic.
I'll
joke
see
as
Die
well.
Another Day. I know what they make their sets out of.
But it's like little sort of things, and like using like the crane to lift them up rather than climb, and just things like
and
that.
dig gear and everything as well.
Yeah.
Like Bond still gets there, but it's just through different.
And when he
methods,
gets onto the top of the crane, he's fucked. He's knackered. You can see it.
Yeah.
He's in good shape, but he's not the natural athlete the free runner is.
And I think, I remember the time when my parents did go to see it, and they came back and asked them, "What do you think?" And they were like, "Yeah, really, really good." And she was like, "He's a really fantastic Bond. You could actually tell when he's fighting that, I think they're referring to the bit when he's on top of the crane where he's like hanging off, and it's like the wind's out, like taken out of him. It's like it's a struggle, but and it's gone through all the fight scenes where he has a fight and he comes back bleeding. Which you didn't get before, particularly in Brosnan.
No.
Yeah, and you will continue to see it.
Himself and...
As we go through the film, I'll point to it in certain scenes where he's still carrying the effects of different things. But, he ends up in the embassy, and as I say, this was one of the first... I think there was a set report from some film programme, I cannot remember which it was, might even have still been Jonathan Ross doing the film programme, and they had a set report from when they were filming in that embassy. So the first footage I saw was him going into that room, knocking the gun out of one hand, knocking the other guy out, and just this no-nonsense fighting style we haven't seen. Not in this series, but it's not Bourne shaky cam at this stage. So as much as they say, well, there's a debt to Bourne, and I'm sure there is, I didn't feel like I was watching a Bourne knockoff. And eventually he just basically blows up the embassy.
Yeah,
it's exclusive.
It's just really I liked how he's chased this guy down and then he just beats the shit out of him, and but still uses him as kind of like a thing to just he's carrying around like he's a bag or something, and he uses him to sort of throw against guards to kind of stop them so he can beat up the other guards so right next to him, and he gets to them late. It's just a marvel to watch. It's just holy shit, this guy can just kick ass, and there's just it's just whole kind of don't give a shit. And he when he finds out he's cornered, and he's just he shoves the guy back, throws his gun, and then he just swiftly grabs his other gun and shoots the bomber guy, and then blows up the canisters to get away. It's just that's just so fucking slick. That is so fucking badass. And if you're not sold on Daniel Craig by then fuck, you are not easy to please. Quite frankly. Because
and it is one of the iconic action sequences of the entire series now, I would suggest.
Yeah.
The whole free running
definitely.
thing. And it represented a couple of pages of script. So much of that was made up by the technicians on the set. How can we bring this to life? What can we add? And it just shows you a crew invigorated by this new direction, because so much of the action in Die Another Day was just lazy and done in a computer anyway.
Really poor CGI, but here it's just a lot of it's in camera. It moves swiftly along. It's just breathtaking.
Yeah,
completely different.
And just think, this is we've just really started the film. This is only about the first 15 minutes. We've had a relatively short title scene, which was basically a brutal fight and a talk in an office, and we get and then we get a short scene introducing the villains, and then this, which is this big massive set piece, which quite frankly most films would probably close on. And it's just what the fuck, wow,
and much the way that we've talked about them going for the sort of thing of the day, right the way back to probably Live and Let Die. This doesn't offend me. It's definitely of its time. parkour was on all like the BBC idents around that time as well.
Yeah.
But it's so well integrated into the story and allows us to learn something about Craig's Bond.
Yeah.
That to this day I'm really happy with it.
Well, it doesn't bang you on the head with it too much, you know.
It doesn't date the movie either.
I mean, the guy who's doing it, I forget.
He's just running. Yeah,
Yeah,
Sebastian Foucan.
Yeah. He's not. Yeah, he's not doing anything that's like over fancy and dramatic. He's just kind of like obviously someone who is skilled in that kind of thing.
And athletic.
Yeah.
And gymnastic.
Yeah.
If you like, yeah. Agile.
So it's it doesn't. It's not like in the rest of the film he's trying to fight off other parkourists. You know, it's
parkourers.
Yes.
But then
I know we call them
after
parkour
this,
runners, I don't know.
they might have rebooted, but Bernard Lee is still a woman.
I don't. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look. I think at the time I remember like Judi Dench is still M. Yeah, right. Fair enough.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, like, to be honest, like, part of you thinking, can you think of anyone better at the time? No, not really. Right, fine.
Right here she is. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, it works fine.
You've got to have a little bit of continuity, haven't you? I think.
Little things. If you go back, if you go and watch like her first appearance in Goldeneye versus her first appearance in this, feels like a very different character. Yeah. She's even dressed differently. She's got quite a low cut top on in this, and she's very stern in Goldeneye. Certainly, there are no canon explanations for it. It has to be a different M because it's a different timeline. But at the same time, the only explanations we've ever had is in the Raymond Benson continuation novel, she was Barbara Maudsley in the Brosnan era. And on the set of Skyfall, there were various labellings for her character that referred to her as Olivia Mansfield. Now,
I still think she's called Barbara, I'm sorry.
That's not canon necessarily, but at the same time, it's indicative of it being a different character who just happens to be played by Judi Dench.
I think she is, on principle, the same character or very, very similar. Yeah. Like, I think they take. It's almost like a rebooting of the character. It's like the same character, but with
so on a different timeline.
Yeah, and plus also it's like it's that character in different circumstances, different situation. Here, like we are first introduced to her, and like literally she is fucking furious.
She's not happy, is she?
I think she even swears. I get the impression she would like drops an F-bomb or like...
she does in Skyfall later on. She calls them a bunch of arse-covering prigs at this stage.
Yeah.
Christ, I missed the Cold War.
Yeah.
She's been called to Parliament to explain why foreign embassy's been shot up by MI6, which is a plot hole because there's no way they can know that's MI6.
No.
But okay, they have.
And they've identified that as Bond, who is an MI6 agent. So
from what? The picture of the back of his head?
No.
Yeah, how did they know?
That was the one that went in the press.
I just assumed he got identified because obviously it was... I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, she's been called to Parliament to explain it, and she's furious because she comes from an era where they're not asked.
Yeah.
Just like you know.
Well, so these days it's more. It has to be more transparent, doesn't it? It's more kind of out in the open, and that's something else we'll discuss when we get to Skyfall and Spectre as well. Yeah, starring Edward Snowden.
But you would be
it's like, oh yeah.
But you would be, if you were, you would be pissed off. It's like that. It's just a big hot mess, right? Done right in front of your lap. Be like, oh, for fuck's sake, you know. It's like, what the, and she's like, kind of really pissed at him, going like, "And what the fuck was he even thinking?" You know, like,
back in the good old days, you'd have the good,
good sensitive effect, you know.
Good effect, exactly. She's like, "Christ, I missed the Cold War."
Well, of course, the very next thing, he's broken into her apartment, which is a very sort of Mad Men apartment. And it is
a bit weird.
She actually says it's the one inviolate law of international relations. You do not go into embassies because basically embassies are effectively sovereign land of that country.
Yeah, sovereign soil.
And I love this. It's like extension of it. She is still royally pissed off, and she is like, it's that kind of line. It's like you better, it's like I'm these
considering
bastards,
feeding to you.
Yeah, these bastards want your head, and I'm seriously considering feeding to you.
At this stage, she didn't even like him, let alone trust him.
There is one parallel with Goldeneye there. I've no compunction about sending you to your death.
Yeah, I was thinking, that's a nice echo to that film, I think.
But it's quite funny because he's portrayed as a bit of a dinosaur later in his run. But at this stage, he's Mr. Hot Tech. He's hacking into everyone's computers.
Hacking all the
He's
computers
hacked
left, right,
in,
centre.
he's got the SIM card from the phone that was in Malaka's backpack. And he's got a text from on that phone that says ellipsis. We'll find out what ellipsis is a bit later on. And he traces the origin and time of that call, of that text, to the Ocean Club in the Bahamas at a certain time and place. So he heads to the Bahamas.
We do a lot of glow popping in this movie as well, don't we? I think.
Yeah, I think what parallels with M in this in terms of what happened with GoldenEye with the old Bond come back alive. I love how it is more threatening this time. It's like, don't break into my apartment again.
Yeah.
It's like after threatening him to shoot him, but yeah, he does go to.
But it's a change. But it's a change of philosophy in how these are made, though, Chris, because the whole thing with GoldenEye, and I always thought, although that was quite a nice line from Judi Dench delivered well, I thought it undermined the scene a little bit because she's hard as fuck and she doesn't give a shit if Bond dies or she doesn't want him to die, but it's part of her job that agents do die and so on, and she has to live with that. And then he walks out the door, and because it's Pierce Brosnan and every woman's got to fall fucking massively in love with him, she has to give it the quick, come back alive. And I just think that line wasn't necessary. And I think here they just play it as, no, this Bond isn't infallible. He's just made a huge mistake. The whole thing is set up about Bond being Bond, the blunt instrument.
No, exactly.
Which is a line from the book.
Yeah.
And also, not only is he a blunt instrument, but he is
reckless,
not seeing the big picture. And that comes back later on with Le Chiffre, when he's talking to Le Chiffre. At the moment, he deals with what's right in front of him, which in this case is a bomb maker. And that's not what MI6 are going after.
Yeah. It's.
I don't think it's till just earlier I was trying to squeeze in a quick viewing of Quantum Solace there. But I think it's the next film, or at least till the end of Casino Royale, that he learns to kind of look at things, in the bigger picture rather than what's right in front of him. And he kind of, he makes that arc.
The conclusion of the arc is when he doesn't shoot Vesper's boyfriend.
Yeah.
I was really pleased with the different locations here, though, because we've got obviously a very long casino scene coming up. Nice to see him in a hot climate. Nice to see him in the Bahamas. Some of that filmed, some of what we've just seen in Madagascar was actually filmed there on the set of some of the stuff where Thunderball was shot. And it does feel kind of like Bond's home from home.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, I always like seeing the Bahamas in a Bond movie. I mean, I'd like to go there myself one day. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, it's kind of, as I say, it's home for home because you've got kind of that part of the world, and it's just like you're home at last.
And the Ocean Club stuff's all really good.
Yeah,
I think. What do you guys think?
I really like it. It is vintage Bond for me because there's just a certain like when he just rocks in wearing a white polo shirt, he just kind of snoops right. He fastens his shoes, kind of out on a whim. Some arsehole thinks he works there and acts like a prick to him, gives him his car keys, right, okay.
And trashes it.
Yeah, and he's just so smooth and effortless. And even when he's questioning the receptionist about the Aston Martin, when he's figured out who it belongs to.
That's how you do an Aston Martin nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's just great how he's just he's just blagging it, but he just...
And we see some charm. It's not that the receptionist has fallen wildly in love with him. She's just finding him very charming, very likeable, and he is using the baby blues to get what he needs to find out.
Yeah.
And we've got this no-nonsense attitude. He just crashes the car for him and just chucks the keys away. And then he's straight into some sort of closet to find out who... Well, it was before the Aston Martin bit, but the way he goes about his business is very no nonsense, and you can see parallels with Batman Begins, but you can also see parallels with the Dalton era.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of Bond I like, is no nonsense. Do not give a shit, just get to it, and it's just it's like watching a master at work. I think that's one of the joys about it. We see someone just literally
Yeah, you put him in a hotel room. It's like back in the Connery era.
Yeah.
And he knows exactly what he's meant to do as his first order of business.
And it's like, it's not quite like Brosnan where he's just naturally just good and things just happen for him. You know, or things don't, whatever's like convenient for the plot. Here you actually see him actually working and actually using his brain and kind of like, and just going with it. And
that's classic James Bond.
Yeah, if things go wrong, they go wrong, but he'll find a way to cover himself or just get out of there, whatever. You know, it's just that kind of, there's just a great joy in seeing that on screen. You know, it's watching that happen. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. We go to sort of a preliminary card game at the Ocean Club, and this is where I started getting sort of echoes of Connery. He sat down at the table and he's playing cards against this Demetrios character who owns the Aston Martin and sent the ellipsis text, so he's clearly involved, and he's just got this presence about him. I think that's Daniel Craig more than the character.
He owns that table, doesn't he? Really?
Owns that table. They've dressed him down for it, and he just looks terrific. And there is an echo to the book as well, because in the book, I think buy-in is 25 million francs, and they send him with 20, and he's such a good card player. They said you can make the other 5 yourself, and he goes basically just spend some time practicing, but also running his different gambling theories and all the rest of it to make that other 5 and to get his eye in. And basically, him at the Ocean Club isn't just about Demetrios; it's about him getting match fit.
Yeah, test is like training pretty much, isn't he? He's not training, but just kind of preparation, and it's like a test run almost.
Mm. He has to keep himself. I mean, he doesn't know about Casino Royale yet, but he keeps himself match fit in terms of his gambling. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. I guess you would need that, even though it is kind of like a joke that Bond's good at cards. Well, you need that, but in terms of the film, you need to kind of establish that he is able to play, because I haven't been told that yet, so it makes sense for you to have that kind of scene where he does play against someone, you know.
And also, the first you see of Demetrios in that, he's winning hands. He walks into the bar, he goes and gets himself a drink, he buys it, he stood right next to the guy whose cars he crashed earlier, and you cut to Demetrios, and he's very smugly pulling chips towards him. So he's playing quite an accomplished player there.
Yeah.
And absolutely cleans him out.
Yeah, Jesus.
Cleans him out and then fucks his wife.
And then screws his missus. Yep, that's Bond, yeah.
Yeah.
That is essentially what he does.
that is pretty much
cleans him out, takes his car, fucks his wife.
He doesn't just take his car and fuck his wife. He takes his car and uses it as the way to fuck his wife.
And then straight after that, he follows him and kills him. So.
Yeah. We've got Solange, the first Bond girl. They don't go all the way, but he picks her up from outside. Demetrios, having lost, is like a bear with a sore head anyway, and Solange is clearly a disposable pleasure to her. I mean, they're married, but she's left at the bar by herself and all the rest of it, and he basically picks her up in the Aston Martin. She's ready to jump in thinking it's Demetrios, and he charms her back to his suite, gets a certain way with him. When he works out Solange doesn't know very much, but he's off to Miami, he basically orders caviar for one and disappears. And again, for possibly the first or one of the few times in this film, that that's Ian Fleming's James Bond. That cold, dispassionate, all right, well, forget her, I've got to go do this.
Yeah.
No, exactly. That's where it all comes from, really, isn't it? Kind of like the whole idea of him being disposable, pretty much. Is like, right,
no chest wig.
No, he doesn't need it. It's like, right, pumped her for information, and now right, on to the next thing.
Becca, I'm pretty certain that's probably your favourite line of dialogue of all time.
She says it constantly, doesn't she?
I love it. It's so funny.
I bet she comes in when Coronation Street's on and says to her mum, has anyone pumped anyone for information yet?
I didn't even watch it.
Do you not?
No.
Oh, God. Ken Barlow's permanently pumping people for information. In the cabin.
Oh, dear. No, I just think that the whole line of dialogue is very cheesy. But anyway, moving on.
Why did we start talking? Okay, never mind. So why are we talking about Coronation Street? What the fuck? Anyway, yeah.
I suddenly couldn't help but think about Ken Barlow's white ass going up down.
That's a mental image I'll struggle to forget. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Cannot unsee, folks.
I know. Well, we know Anne Kirkbride stunt doubled in The Spy Who Loved Me, so why not?
Oh, yeah. Forgot about her.
Well, that's a fun fact.
That's fun, folks!
That's a fun quote.
So they head off to he heads off to Miami, following Demetrios, and basically they're at the Body Worlds exhibition.
Yeah, the Gunther von Hagens. That's kind of something very like zeitgeisty as well as like parkour. You got Body Worlds. That was everywhere. Like he had the documentary on Channel 4. He did the live dissections, didn't he? That was very bizarre but very interesting.
Yeah, and so having killed Demetrios because he's been spotted, he then comes out and actually contacts the number, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, again, this is like...
Yeah, gives it a ring.
This is Bond also, like also what we've seen for him thinking.
He's doing his job, isn't he? He's pretty much doing his job.
It's like, shit, where's it gone? Shit, he's gone, right.
What do I do? Oh,
yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
we'll just see who picks up a phone when I do this.
Yeah. And
I mean, it could have been a wild coincidence, couldn't it?
Good job he gets it right.
Yeah, just follows this person home.
Yeah.
Sits up the pizza.
Next day, oh bugger, it's the wrong person.
And they head to an action sequence that when people who are critical of this film tend to be quite critical of this sequence. They kind of check out during it, find it a bit long, don't like it. I think it's great.
It's really interesting, and plus you got the Richard Branson cameo. Randomly.
Cut from the version they showed on British Airways.
Yeah, I wonder why that could be.
How petty is that?
Oh, ridiculous.
But we've got this whole sequence where basically one of the things you've seen at the start of the film where he meets the Ugandans, Lashif gets on the phone and tells somebody unseen to put the money in a certain direction. They tell him that the stock price is going to go in the opposite direction. There's only one way it can go. And
That's Tim Pigott-Smith.
Yes, that's right. And he's told that it's not Tim Pigott-Smith.
No, it's not. It's somebody else.
The next one. But it does look a bit like him. And he says to him, just do it. And what he's basically done is gone and bet against the share price for this new passenger jet that they're being released. And it's being rolled out for some press event, to prototype run, whatever. And the whole point is he's bet that the share price will go down because basically there's going to be a terrorist attack will affect the share price of that company. So it's Bond foiling that leads on to the Casino Royale game because at that point he's 100 million out of pocket.
Yeah, he needs to make that money back, doesn't he?
But it's a really good action sequence and it's Bond on its own making it up as he goes along.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the raw kind of elements of the Bond characters, sort of coming to the fore, really.
Well,
he thinks on his feet.
Well, I mean, in a less good script, Becca, he would have called M or done whatever, and it would have been a linear progression. But because he's making it up on the spot as he goes along, as soon as he gets through to M, he hangs up on her.
Yeah, he's like, I'll call you back. I've got to go.
Yeah.
Screw this, I know what I'm going to do.
After being put on hold as well, yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Because, yeah,
I like how obviously we don't really get to see Moneypenny until Skyfall. We've got Villiers who, does the job. So
he's basically like Tanner, really.
Yeah, he's like Moneypenny and Tanner rolled into one because we didn't see Tanner until
next film.
Yeah,
until Quantum. So which really surprised me. I totally forgot that he wasn't in Casino Royale. I was like, oh.
What's really good about this, and I suppose it's kind of like the opening parkour one. We don't know much about this guy, and we don't really need to. But he is very formidable. He's not like an idiot. He cons on to Bond quick, and he
puts up a good fight, doesn't he? I think.
He sort of like he keeps putting on barriers for him to overcome, and he keeps making it increasingly difficult. He is quite an engaging presence, even as I would say as well.
He's not stupid.
And ellipsis was the code to get through the security door.
Yeah.
That's what that was all that time.
It's interesting. It keeps you. They feed you this information, and it's quite an important payoff.
So well plotted,
Really well put together.
and it's almost throwaway. You know, in any other film, Ellipsis would be this massive grand reveal at the end. No, it's not. It's just a code. It's just going to get Bond onto the next stage, and it's not going to win anything for him. He still has to figure out how to stop this.
I mean,
Yeah.
Doesn't it amaze you that the people who wrote the last film?
It's two completely different, utterly different movies, isn't it?
It's incredible, isn't it? Although
The mind boggles.
Paul Haggis was brought in for a rewrite. I don't know who wrote what here, but yeah, this has got Purvis and Wade on it, and it's proof they can do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Take a few years off, have a break.
yeah,
there you are.
but a different direction entirely,
I
and a
think
very,
after
very
Die
good
Another
crew
Day,
around
there's
them.
only one direction you can go.
Yeah, and again, watching this action sequence, that isn't the Daniel Craig that was like rail thin and unveiled with floppy hair the previous October. This guy just looks the part, phenomenally
Yeah.
so.
I don't think we have seen a Bond ever in this good shape, in physical shape,
No,
should we say.
didn't he sort of gain like so many pounds of muscle for the role or something, especially?
Well, quite evidently. I mean, you
Just
put
a
him
little bit.
if you've only got to go and watch him a year or two later in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and he's rail
Yeah, he's
thin
different
again.
again, isn't
I mean,
he?
he just bulks up dramatically for these roles.
I feel they need to watch that awful Tomb Raider movie.
But he doesn't. But he doesn't look like Henry Cavill, where you can barely contain him in a suit.
No.
He's just very, very lean and very fit. And
He's got kind of very much like a Tim Dalton aspect about him. Like he could actually kill you. He's quite dangerous.
yeah, Tim Dalton would have to put his cigarette out first, though.
Like, yeah.
Let's finish this, and then I'll chase after you.
And then have a smoke. Whereas Daniel Craig, you probably have a drink and then he'd go after you.
Yeah, but I mean, I love that the bomb put on the back of the guy's trousers. And
Yeah, that's clever.
on
I
there,
didn't see that.
beaten up, his face all cut to pieces, as this guy just blows
It's a
up.
bit like Zhao from Die Another Day.
Yeah. But later, and we'll get to it in a minute, but when we get to him meeting Vesper on the train, he's still got some cuts on his faces. On his
It makes
faces?
a bit
On
more
his
realism,
face.
doesn't it, I think.
And yeah, you've never seen that before. It
Yeah.
normally goes from scene to scene.
And
Yeah.
I think you never actually don't see it. It just focuses on his face. It just kind of zooms in. You hear like an explosion, and you just hear this fake little sort of like side grin, like ha, fuck you. It's not even like it's just fake. It's almost like very subtle, but it's just there. It's just like yeah.
But yeah.
I love the whole part of it. I like even his reaction where he's just kind of like we manages to stop the truck just before it hits, and he's there kind of just looking out going, oh,
Bloody hell.
all right. Yeah. It's
I'm
just that
surprised as
kind of
well.
like, you know, I'm plus it's mixed with the fact that he's fucking knackered. You know, he's like he pretty much falls out. So
It's just made it more real world.
yeah.
It doesn't jump out with perfect hair and a quip.
yeah.
No, he
He's
doesn't
been banged
actually.
up a bit.
It's very refreshing. I think.
Yeah, but again, I like the play of the whole bomb thing because we don't realise it. Every time I watch it now, I go, "Oh, that's the bit he puts. He must have put it on. He must have got it and put it on and attached it to him there." But when you watch it first time, you don't know.
You've
'cause it
no
isn't-
idea.
No,
it
You know
isn't-
which bit it is because he's about to jump out the cab and
Yeah.
you get Bond grabbing his belt. That's
Yeah.
where he put it on.
That's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always blinking, you miss it scene. You know, if you don't know it's there.
You don't see it put on, but you can divine when it happened. And then we go back and we see M in the field. Love this sequence, and it's something about because Daniel Craig's not the tallest, but obviously Judi Dench really isn't. And
No, she's tiny.
with what they dress him in, you know, and he just looks so fit and bulky and
scarred up as well.
scarred up as
Yeah.
well. I mean, he just looks like nothing we've seen before in this series.
And M is again chewing him out. Like,
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
You know,
have you seen the
the-
body count? You know?
yeah, this whole like, you know, I would remain, I would suggest you remain emotionally detached, but that's not your problem, is it, Bond?
Yeah, and the way he just answers, no,
No.
no.
Next week, we find unfortunately Solange is dead. Oh, very sad.
Yeah, that's quite brutal for 12A, isn't it? Really?
It is.
Yeah, that's a bit
it's just,
grim.
Yeah, facing real close up with her eyes dead, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like her eyes are open,
covered in
it's like
sand, and you don't really see it, but you can just imagine like there's like worms or maggots, just like
Oh,
I mean, that caviar must have really not agreed.
yeah,
Oh, disgusting.
But we get basically the plot outlined. We get it's the 9/11 allegory that people bet the short money against airlines. In the wake of that, people cleaned up, and that they believe it's the that is behind it.
That's behind it all.
They don't actually have any proof. I know there's a is it how it should, there's an honest no not honest is it an honest trailer? No, it's a how it should have ended out there.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah.
That suggests that, well, he's guilty. Why don't we go arrest him? It's quite clear in the dialogue. They don't know for certain. They believe it's him. It suits his MO, and also he's just set up a poker game at Casino Royale in Montenegro, where the amount of money that's likely to be won will clear that debt. So they can divine it's him, but they don't know for certain.
Yeah, they're not 100% certain, are they, at that point? So.
Yeah. So it is quite a big risk, isn't it? Because doesn't even Eva Green, Vesper Lynn even say, like, on the it mentioned that when, like, if
this goes wrong, our governments will have directly
on the sake of a whip, or something along those lines.
But he is the best buckaroo player in the service, and he's really steady-handed at operation as well.
Yeah, he can move all those organs without the alarm going off.
He's quite flexible, which helps with Twister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Then they gave him Twister and he got it.
But he's shit at Guess Who. So, we've just got to minimise his losses during that.
Yeah, during Guess Who. Not so good at tiddlywinks.
Tiddlywinks.
Oh, God.
So he's sent off to Montenegro. The next thing you see is him on a train, and Vesper Lind comes to sit with him.
This is one of my favourite scenes in the movie. They figure each other out just like that. It's amazing.
I'd only seen Eva Green in The Dreamers before this. When they cast her, I was like, I almost like blushed because I'd only ever seen her like copious amounts of nudity.
When did the Golden Compass come out?
She does like to get her boobs out quite a lot, doesn't she?
She does. Yeah, she was in The Dreamers, the Bertolucci film. And yeah, it's all like nudity and threesomes. And that was the only thing I'd seen her in. And it was like, fucking hell, she's going to be in a Bond film. And again, it started off the Daily Mail with she'll be nude in it. No, she won't. Don't be so fucking stupid.
2007.
Vesper Lind in the book is the assistant to the head of Station S, Mathis. Station S being the Soviet Union. Obviously, there's no Soviet Union now and no Soviet dimension to this. So Mathis just becomes the contact.
He's quite suspicious in himself because like Mathis pops up in a few of the continuation novels as well.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like Felix, I would guess. They're quite good friends, and he's kind of Bond's assistant on his various quests. But I think here he's quite sinister.
I don't think he is. I mean, I never had that when I watched it. I thought he was very likable and very kind of like charming.
Oh no, definitely. But the fact that he's the only one, he's like, there is no we, it's just I, and he's kind of a little bit. Well, towards the end of the film,
and he's clearing obstacles. He's got, he's able to get the corrupt police chief arrested, which is the Michael G. Wilson cameo in this film. He's just there to clear Bond's path, really, and explain cards to us. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, he's basically kind of like the mouthpiece for the audience. Okay, this is what this means. This is what that does. This is what a tell is.
It's quite piss poor.
This is how much money he's lost.
This is
how much money he's won.
Yeah, that's not done well.
No, that's like he's a kind of basically. I'm going to explain the plot to you now.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the British reporter in Spider-Man 3 at the end.
Oh yeah.
You don't need it, but
I'll just tell you what we just did.
It's a minor wrinkle in a great film.
That's the actress who plays that dies, doesn't?
She hung herself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very sad.
Yeah, she was about 28 or something.
Yeah, really sad. But on Spider-Man 3, I fucking hated all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
That whole, like, I'm going to commentate on everything. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh my God. Oh no.
It's quite poorly done, really.
Yeah, and it's a bit like that. But Mathis as a character is really great, and the town they meet in is lovely.
He's a brilliant character. I mean, Giancarlo Giannini, I quite like him in the role. But I just like the same with Vesper as well. I mean, plot spoiler, in a book that's 50 plus years old, she turns out to be a double agent. And like here, you just kind of think, like, for me, Vesper, I think apart from Tracy, she's like one of the only, maybe Madeline perhaps now, she's like one of the few women that Bond has really loved. And that really comes across in this film, I think.
Yeah.
Even though at the end he's like, the bitch.
He really loves her, and the difficulty in the book as well.
Heartbroken.
In the book, and it wouldn't work cinematically, she starts sort of drifting away from him, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
And she's got this depression that he can't crack through.
No.
And this wonderful relationship they have is dying, and he's helpless.
Yeah, you can't do much about it.
We can't do that here, but she really gets to him.
I think that's why, like, I mean, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. But like the scene, like in the lift as well, that's kind of like the visual representation of that almost, because like she sacrifices herself. And later when we get to Quantum, Matters like, she loved you, she died for you, rah rah. So
yeah, I'd certainly think she's magnificent casting. They spark off each other extremely well.
She's very striking as well. She's like she's very like.
She's what Bond would go for.
Yeah, she's very.
Yeah, definitely.
She's very attractive.
She's got the beauty, she's got the brains.
Yeah, she's very attractive, but not in like Denise Richards kind of thing way. She's very like.
She's not a wet dream.
She's striking looking.
She's a person.
She's striking looking.
Yeah, she's three-dimensional.
She's like got a sharp tongue,
Oh, that's got its downsides.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, and he mentions, and again, the first reveal of our Bond girl. Normally, it would be like a Denise Richards dressed like Lara Croft or something.
Yeah.
But he points out she dressed kind of masculine. She puts her hair up in not the most flattering way. And they spar with each other. Craig is still carrying all the sort of, well, they've sort of played with it a little bit in that it's been reduced, but he's still got cuts on his face. And apart from the clunking reference to Omega, it's fantastic, this sequence.
I actually, to be honest with you, I'm going to defend that. I always... Like, a lot of people refer to the old watch sort of what you call it when he just product placement.
Yeah.
As I think it's geniusly done. I generally think like okay fine, it's product placement. You're gonna have it in any film. I think in this film it is used fantastically well because it works within the dialogue.
She's talking about sense. Maladjusted young men with sharp suits and
and she says like, Rolex is like kind of like as a way to like prove a point. He says like Omega, but in a sense, well, you kind of have. She's like, yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
and it kind of and the whole, I suppose the very nice thing is kind of like, that's product placement, but in context of the film, it means completely different else.
And again, this is a journey for Bond. We're watching Bond formed, and this dialogue tells you he's an orphan.
Yeah.
It tells you he didn't come from money. We'll talk about that more when we get to Skyfall, because I think they're a little bit internally inconsistent there. But certainly at this point, he doesn't come from money. He doesn't come from sort of a knobby background. He's made it with help and really hard work. He is, and I've always felt that...
Wears his suits with such disdain.
It's this idea that Bond was always, when you go to the Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan era, Bond is like a gentleman who happens to kill. And I think actually the right way round is he's a killer trained to be a gentleman.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Connery sort of gets it, and certainly Craig does. That yes, he's in the suit and he can do it and he can look the part and he might know his wine and his food and everything else. But he's not quite fully formed on that yet. And the fact is, the guy is a killer at this point.
Yeah.
He's still very much a blunt instrument, but he's kind of forming that, the Bond identity that we know more, kind of like he's more like a gentleman and more like,
and basically, well, Becca, in line with the book, he's all like married women, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much is. I mean, if you're listening to this and for some reason you haven't managed to read Casino Royale yet, go back, read it. Or don't go back, read it, and then listen to us. But go and read it if you can, because that's like the Bond blueprint, as it were. Yeah, it's pretty much, it's all about like married women, as it were. So.
Well, yeah, it says in this film as well. It's like, don't worry, you're not my type. What was it, smart, independent, or whatever? It's like single.
And that's Ian Fleming's James Bond.
Yeah,
it's like I've said many times. You want flavours of that Bond. He's still, got to be charming, and there's got to be a bit more there than in the books, or different things accentuated. But that's quite brave. Most of us out there, I would think, or certainly a majority, don't cheat on our partners if we have them. So having a leading man who openly says, I'm only interested in fucking married women, could completely alienate us. It's quite brave script writing.
It makes sense for him because...
That's the point.
He is an agent. He's not out. He doesn't want a relationship, So he likes to go for married women
because they're not likely to get attached.
Yeah, because if he does charm it, or when he does charm his way, it's only ever likely going to be like a one a fling. You know, that's all he's ever interested in, is getting his end away and be done
Like
with
the
it.
nature of his job as well. I mean, he's not going to be home very often, is it? You know,
He's like, you know,
wife's not going to see him. You know, you might as well.
It's not going to work. You know, and also if you want to get like a bit of emotional,
practical.
you don't want like to have a relationship and then to get like a call at 1 a.m. in the morning and go like.
But she does say to him, you see women as disposable pleasures rather than meaningful pursuits.
Yeah.
And you can say all you like about the jobs and everything else, but actually that's at the root of it. Women are just something to be like a bit of fun, and that's where Tracy. Sorry, that's where Vesper. I know. That's where Vesper really gets to him and Tracy actually in that story. That there's just more there. They're smart, they're thoughtful, and they've got humour and they've got wit and intelligence. That's why this sparring.
Well, I think.
That's why that verbal sparring on the train is so important, because that's not the sort of women he meets.
No.
And if he were to, he only meets them to sort of screw them. He doesn't have the time for those sorts of conversations. So he's been introduced to a side of not only a woman, but women in general he doesn't tend to see.
Yeah. And you can tell it when she leaves as well. He's like kind of like laughing.
He was like, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good time, didn't he?
I might go and tug one out.
Yeah, it's like, well, how's your lamb skewered?
Yeah.
Skewered.
Yeah.
Everyone sympathises. Yeah, it's clever, isn't it? I think I do like the.
I never liked the line "perfectly formed arse" though. That always just didn't sit right with me. Yeah, it just didn't sit right for me. It didn't like. Okay, fine.
He's a bit arrogant, actually. You know, he's a bit kind of like up himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, no, she says that to him, and I think actually she does very well here. But English is not her first language. She's fluent in English, can think and speak in English fine, but perfectly formed arse didn't come out quite right.
She sounds very, in the accent there.
That would have come out of a naturally English-speaking woman, I think, a little bit better.
Mills.
But yeah, it's a really good scene. As I say, we see he walks straight into the hotel and announces who he is, despite his cover story. You know,
it's the lift scene all the more funny. He's like, you take
that's
the next
not Bond
one. There isn't
Begins.
enough room
That's
for me
Roger
in your
Moore Begins.
I guess that's kind of like a play on the whole motif of like secret agent who goes around using his real name everywhere. You know, it's a
sign of the arrogance that all.
Yeah, exactly. And that as well. But again, it's more like verbal sparring. It's like, you know, he kind of explains what he's thinking, and you think, yeah, you have a point. But then she goes, yeah, well, he knows something about you. He knows you're arrogant. He knows you're reckless.
Yeah.
And she won't let him in the lift with her.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
We go.
And then we have the scene we've already talked about with Mathis. And
Michael G. Wilson cameo as well.
He's the police chief that gets arrested. Yeah. And you've got Mathis pulling various strings through the story. A bit later on, he hides the Ugandan bodies and implicates somebody else for him. And we do have sort of Bond being formed through, you know, getting his tux and getting a dress ready for Eva Green's character. You can see all the building blocks coming into place.
It is getting that tux, I must say.
Yee!
You said it yourself, Dave.
I know. Yeah. So where do we go from here? We have the game starting.
It's probably the longest game of poker ever. I don't know how long they're meant to go on for, but
each section is shot differently, and it's something I've never really picked up on. But listening to the commentary and all the rest of it, each stretch is filmed a bit differently.
Yeah.
So the first stretch is fairly traditionally shot. The sequence, I might get this the wrong way round, but I think the sequence where he comes back after killing the Ugandans, I think is shot very low wide-angle lenses.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sequence where he's poisoned, I think it's this way round, is shot with a very dynamically moving camera, the camera moving down through the table and around. And then the final stretch of the game is shot with an awful lot of close-ups, as you would expect, on faces.
Mm. Yeah.
So I might have got those middle two mixed up, but the gist is, once you know it's there, you can tell the different sections of the game from each other, and also they're telling you something different.
Yes,
they're
the story
setting a
moves
different
depending on
mood.
how
They're
it's
setting a
filmed.
different. Yeah, they're setting. As the game picks up, it gets more dynamic. The wider lenses are a little bit more almost isolating in a strange way because you've got Le Chiffre starting to lose, and he's got a wide-angle lens with him very sort of lonely in the centre of it, and he's starting to look a little bit isolated.
Yeah, I think.
And he's just had his life threatened as well. So it's just a masterclass of filming. The casino looks fantastic, and apart from Mathis slightly over-explaining everything, the way it's laid out by I don't know what you call him, but the guy who's running the game, we'll call him the concierge for want of a better term.
Yeah, I don't know who he is.
The concierge explains what's going to happen, when, and how the game's going to work, and the buy-ins.
It's just formality, though, isn't it? Really,
it's great.
Yeah, if you want a masterclass on how to film a scene, this is it.
We get various elements. We get the big fight with the Ugandans, which really, really pushes the boundaries of the 12A. The Ugandan gentleman Le Chiffre met with at the start of the film has broken into his suite. Bond has already bugged his inhaler, so he knows exactly where he is. He goes up there with Vesper, and the Ugandans are threatening to take off Le Chiffre's girlfriend's arm, or hand at least, and he's begging them and telling them he will get them their money. So he is under immense pressure. But of course, as they come out, I think they spot Bond's earpiece, and they spot that he's not who he, they think he's, they go right after him, and you get the stairwell fight that is just incredible, both from an action perspective and an acting perspective, because Eva Green, with what we know now of where that character's going, her performance here tells us so much.
And she's just completely horrified by it all, isn't she? She's like, what, what's going on? And that scene with her and Bond in the shower kind of makes it all the more.
Yeah, she was supposed to be
emotionally kind of affecting, really.
Yeah, it is. That was originally written. She was supposed to be in there naked.
Yeah,
and it was Daniel Craig who said she's traumatized.
She wouldn't think about that.
She wouldn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's like
she wants the blood under her. She just goes straight into. And he's right.
Yeah, he's 100% right to do that, I think.
And the music there, you get some of Vesper's theme. We hear it later when they make love at the hospital. It's the most John Barry-esque bit of this score. And it reminds me, I keep saying it because it's a favourite of mine, there's bits of it that remind me of his Somewhere in Time score.
Yeah.
So if you think of where he was with Bond at the time, kind of around his Moonraker era.
I mean, this is, without a doubt, this is David Arnold's best score.
Oh, certainly, 100%.
It's his most romantic.
It definitely
and
feels
it's showy. It doesn't have a load of electronic stuff on it.
Well, yeah, I mean...
It's very pared back, isn't it? You've got the brass, you've got the strings. It's very... Compared to Die Another Day's,
to be honest with you,
nightmare.
I think the things with the whole, drum and bass, disco as what Becca would put it.
Disco will be reserved for viewers only.
Elements of it. I think that was probably put there by request of the producers to be modern. I think probably, you want to see what Arnold, scores really are, what he really would want to do it.
Listen to
is in this film. And
his two Craig era scores are very different than his Brosnan era.
Yeah, definitely.
But even like the more like even you look at the Brosnan era.
Say that again, Chris.
That's a new word.
But even in the Brosnan era, yes, you have the certain scenes that have like the the dance remix versions of stuff, but you've got the more traditional. Sort of more John Barry-esque that are really, really good. I mean, I think I said in War's Not Enough, there was like those moments in that film I thought the score was beautiful, and I was like, yeah, that's great. It was only in certain scenes where it just goes all like, it's like, oh, really? Do we have to?
It's quite jarring because the two I've noticed it as we've gone through them this time. The bits are that are John Barry-esque.
Yeah,
really jar up against the other bits, and it doesn't sit right. But this score is just very lush, very beautiful, and it uses the Chris Cornell theme. Now, if you just heard the Chris Cornell theme, you might worry, how is that going to be built into the score? And yet he uses it in quite a romantic way.
Yeah, he does it.
The first time I really noticed it is when you get the exterior of the train.
Yeah,
and you just think, oh, he's really upped his game for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just works. I mean, I think I kind of sort of try and pick up on that in Bond films since. when you know the theme and you kind of like, okay, well, when's it going to use that in the song?
Yeah, how are you going to work it in?
So yeah, it's I really. But I mean, when I watched it, I mean, I was messaging you guys as well at the same time, and I was like, I'm just fucking loving everything about this film. It's like it just kept showing me stuff, and I was like, yeah, I love this. Yeah, I love this. This is great. I was just in awe of pretty much in every aspect of this film. So
it's all put together so well, isn't it? I just think there's no kind of like, there are very, very few weak parts to it.
So yeah, so we've talked about the music. I mean, you've got that shower scene. I think the next morning is where he meets on the balcony with Mathis. Mathis has hidden the bodies in somebody's car that they want to get arrested. And
I mean, he's fucking good at his job, isn't he, Mathis?
Brilliant.
No, he's very good. This is, he's been keeping secrets a long time.
I know.
But no, what I was saying earlier about like the whole thing, because I know Mathis obviously from the books as Bond's friend, but I think when we get to Quantum, which is very weird, he's painted as if he was some kind of villain or there was another side to him. But it's like, no, he did. He does a lot for Bond. He covers up for him, and as he's saying, moving a lot of obstacles out of his way. But it was kind of like a little bit. Is he a bit nefarious? But actually, no.
We can explain that within the context of this film.
Yeah,
and we will do in a while. But you get that line that was in all the trailers: "Melted your cold heart yet?" And when you talk, when you think of the lyrics to the main title theme and what Bond is in this film. That's what this film is about. Exactly. Opening him up enough that it really hurts and he closes over again. But we go to the next sequence of the poker, and this is the sequence where we get where he gets poisoned.
Yeah, I think this is like another. I think naysayers of the film, that or people who have problem with film would point at this, thinking, "Oh, this is a little bit silly, this bit," or "This was just a little bit like a stretch too far."
Not really.
Well, I'm just I don't personally think it, but I just think this is where some people might go, oh, okay, really, that's a little bit daft. The whole I'm gonna give myself CPR.
Exactly. At this point, like in the game as well, wasn't Bond lost quite a lot of money? I mean, he actually loses for the first point in the game, and so it also shows the chef up to be underhanded bastard pretty much. He didn't think he was bad already. He wouldn't go so far as poisoning your drink.
Well, he's trying to, get rid of his threat, really. The guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm particularly an agent as well, so he's like, so.
Plus, earlier we had that visual cue for the defibrillator, so you've got to use it at some point. You can't just show it and go, oh, yeah, we're not going to use it.
Yeah. So
just an excuse, really.
So, basically, Bond gets his drink poisoned by She's girlfriend, which, seeing that he pretty much saved her having her arm lopped off, I think is pretty harsh.
Yeah, it's a nice way to repay you. Nice way to say thanks, the emo haircut girlfriend.
So, yeah, and I like this because Bond is, again, thinking on his feet. He's like, he makes his excuses, runs to the toilet, grabs some salt, tries to throw it up, realises that's not working. The scene's kind of shot in kind of like, in like a drug-filled haze, like everything's kind of spinning, so you kind of...
That's a bit kind of like shaky cam, isn't it? Because we're disoriented the same as Bond is. So.
Yeah, so you kind of basically, you're with Bond, you're seeing like everything like how he's seeing it, and he is completely fucked. And he's like, alright, what the fuck
pretty much.
do I do?
And this is a level of bypassing vanity in the character that we probably wouldn't have got during the era, because he's pouring with sweat. He's looking rough anyway because he's already had a bit of a kicking on the stairwell. Daniel Craig screwing his face up. The camera pans in very close to him during the poisoning, much that he ends up looking a bit like Lee Evans at certain shots. And I actually think this is a really effective scene.
No, it really does, because he does feel like, this could be it. It could be end of it. You never know. But he talks about, he doesn't make any good quips. Like when he comes back to the card table, he's like, "Oh, that last hand nearly killed me." I think that was probably the only one, best quip.
Yeah, but I think it's a perfect example of like what Dave was saying on previous episodes, where it's like, "Oh, we're just throwing a gag, for the sake of it." It's like, well, why? Just
this one makes sense. It's not just thrown in there.
Yeah,
this one,
it's like just throwing a gag when you come up with a good one, And it's like example, like, well, you thought of a funny line, funny witty line, use it. Don't just don't throw one in for the sake of it. Cause
I mean, that last hand nearly killed me. I saw this at the cinema, and it got a laugh. It got a genuine
everyone laughed
laugh.
in my screening. Yeah,
It didn't just get a, oh, it got a genuine laugh.
No, I think I saw this quite a few times. Probably not as many. I can't remember. I think it was probably as many as Spectre. But every single time I saw it, it got like a proper laugh from the audience, not just like a little titter here and there. But it got, everyone laughed at that line.
You could say because there isn't many laughs in it, in Casino Royale, that it makes it more effective.
It does.
And also, it's generally worked on as well. You had like a big build. It's like you've had this kind of like big life-threatening build-up, which kind of works its own right. So it's like a quick, piffy one-liner is perfect there because it just.
Well, you've got that. You've got Miss Stephanie Broadchest, and you've got I wouldn't think of it. You're not going back in there. This film has plenty of humour in it. What it doesn't have is a lot of froth, and I think you can confuse it for dour, and it's just not. I think there's more laughs in this film than most Bond films. There aren't more jokes, but there's more laughs.
Yeah.
So I was really happy with it.
So which other?
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Which other laughs?
Throwaway line.
Which other laughs, Dave? Did you do you really like in the film?
The Stephanie Broadchest line got a laugh at the time. It doesn't so much on rewatch, but it took you by surprise because
am I just being fair?
Where he's in the car and he's reading their cover story. Apparently,
he's like, my name's Arlington Beach and your name's Stephanie Broadchest, and her face is like,
oh,
I'm not. Let me see that.
And she cuts across him quite quickly because it's kind of throwaway, but it's funny. When he gets out of the car and she says, "You're not going back in there," I wouldn't dream of it. That got a laugh.
Yeah.
Not as big a laugh, but a laugh. And that last hand really killed me. Got the biggest laugh in the film.
Yeah.
As I recall.
Yeah.
Do I look like I give a damn? Got a big laugh as well.
Mm.
When he doesn't care if it's wanked off or fingered.
But the thing is that that's not even.
Hold the egg. Would you like it? Would you like it whipped?
Oh, actually, yeah, the torture scene. That generally, I think that got a laugh as well.
Oh,
and this is like a really intense moment where he's like
scratching my balls.
I've got a scratch down there. Would you mind?
Well, we've just named what have we just named there? 5 or 6 laughs of varying degrees.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, I laughed about 3 times during Roger Moore's entire tenure.
Oh.
So yeah, and they were genuine laughs. I mean, James, I Need You, So Does England got a laugh. Tell Him to Pull Out Immediately got a laugh. That's twice in the same film. I'm with the Economy Tour, ma'am, from the one I hate, Octopussy. That's a really funny line. And there's 2 or 3 others, I'm sure, but there's more in this film than there are in Roger Moore's entire run. And yet it's seen as really comedic. Well, it's only really comedic because you're goofing around constantly. So when they do use humour here, it's
clever and it means something.
Clever, it's used well. And it's one thing that he does have over Dalton, because he can deliver the line.
Yeah, to be fair, much as I love Dalton, he was quite serious. But yeah, I think here they kind of the more comedic moments, I guess you can call them, just kind of puncture the scene quite well, and they're effective, and they're not just like a throwaway quip.
Yeah, he is charismatic, Craig.
Yeah. The reason...
Yeah, that's the right word to use, charismatic. That's 100% on the ball.
There are 2 reasons that Mathis is thought to be a traitor. Firstly, Le Chiffre says it himself. Your friend Mathis is my friend
Mathis.
Well, he's saying that to deflect it away from Vesper.
Yeah.
And secondly, the tell that wipes Craig out to start with, he said that to Mathis and Vesper, so he assumes Mathis dobbed him in. And he didn't. It was Vesper. And then as soon as he's cleared out, Vesper doesn't want to restake him. She's trying to rescue him by getting it over quickly.
Yeah, she wants to keep him afloat, really, doesn't she?
But we do get...
I never knew that. Cause I always figured that it was something that Sheaf just figured out himself. Because I think when you look at the table, you look at like the close-ups. There's like kind of like a. I think there's maybe it's just down to like interpretation of like of how.
Well, he says he when he wins and wipes Bond out, he says, "You must have thought I was bluffing." He's basically saying.
But Bond,
I showed you my tell, so you must have thought I was bluffing.
You must have thought I was bluffing.
There's a scene where like Bond says to it, he kind of says it, where he's like, "I don't consider myself in trouble once I start weeping blood." You just given away, like you just kind of went like to, "Yeah, I know when you're bluffing." It's kind of like It's...
but it isn't the weeping blood that gives it away.
Yeah.
It's more of a physical tick than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's fair. I think if you spoke to the writers, they would tell you that was the intention. That he thinks it's Mathis because Vesper's with him, and Mathis he doesn't know. He assumes Mathis told Schiff. It wasn't. It was Vesper. And then as soon as he's wiped out, Vesper doesn't want to restake him, and it's got nothing to do with him being reckless, even though that's her cover for it. It's because, right, I've done what I needed to do. You're wiped out. I want this over.
Yeah, I want you alive. Now your chance to kind of get out of here.
Yeah.
Instead, we get an introduction of a new Phoenix Lighter.
Yes.
Now, Dave, do you like this interpretation of Phoenix Lighter? Because it's been very sketchy so far.
Yeah, it is. I was perfectly happy with this, and whilst the films don't necessarily need Felix, I must have liked it, because when he wasn't in Skyfall and Spectre, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
So
I think it's the first time it's been a consistent thing, because he's in the next film, and you think you want like some sort of continuation of that character. It's just nice to have some consistency, like it's like the Moneypenny.
Obviously, when you had Jack Lord was like similar age, good looking, and all the rest of it, and you looked at them and went, "That's just the American Bond." Whereas this guy isn't really a gambler. He's when you'll see in the next film, he's a very different beast to Bond, a lot less showy in a lot of ways, and I find it quite an interesting dynamic, and I would have liked to have seen more of that.
And of course
they've closed in the last two films on like MI6 and MI6's purpose and MI6's reason for being and the 00 section. I would have actually liked to see more of how they deal with another agency.
Yeah, I like the actor as well. It's it's a good solid, good actor to take on the role, and it just has like a nice sort of play. It's what in the two films he's in. It's kind of slightly various different types of moods. He's a little bit more realist, but a little bit more playful in terms of with Bond. But there is like kind of like a nice sort of underlining companionship between the two. Here it's like when they first meet. It's carried over a little bit more. He's kind of like. He's stuck in a hard place, but he's still loyal to him. It's like, So I do like. There's a good connection here that hasn't been done before properly. We told that in License to Kill.
And also, he is quite a well-timed balancing out of the Craig character, because he's just been wiped out. He's gone to the bar. We've got that line about, shaken or stirred, do I look like I give a damn? And on a whim, he grabs a knife. He's going to go and stab the Schiff. His tactical brain and the big picture and everything else has deserted him completely.
Because here he's thinking, everything's fucked. So
I'll fuck it even more almost. Well, I'll kill him. Well, that's not what British intelligence want. That's not what any of these agencies want. And if the CIA are there, they really don't want that. They need him alive. And this whole thing of the big picture keeps coming back. And as he's about to go and do it...
With not an actual proper killing knife, with
he just grabs one off the table. Yeah,
which imagine that must be like a brutal fucking murder.
Yeah. So that tells you that's another bit of the sort of brutality of this Bond at this stage. And also... it takes Felix to get hold of him and say, actually, you've got the beating of this guy. I can see it. He's actually just been conned by a false tale anyway. Not that Felix is going to know that. And it calms Bond down. So I think it's a very, very well-timed interjection as well.
Yeah, I think that works well in the book as well. I've not read
it,
but I imagine it's there inlined in the story.
He is restaked by the CIA, yes.
They're basically bankrolling him the rest of here on end sort of thing, pretty much. I think Jeffrey Wright is really. I do like him as Felix, but he's really underused. He's such. If you see, he appeared in 2007 in the Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake. I think he was in the Shaft remake as well.
He's been in a couple of the Hunger Games films as well.
Yeah, he's BT famously. But he's in the remake of The Manchurian Candidate as well.
I've seen that, but I don't remember him in it.
No, he's really good in it. I really rate Jeffrey Wright.
I saw that at the cinema. That's like 12 years ago. I've not seen it since.
Yeah,
it's one of my favourite movies, actually. I love it as well.
Yeah. But I remember liking it.
Vaguely on the original. I did it for my dissertation, so but it's really good fun. Well, not good fun, but it's a really interesting remake. But no, I quite rate him as an actor, and he's really underused here as Felix, which is a great shame.
He's used enough for the story. I mean, I went to see the new X-Men film today, and that is a textbook example of how to completely underuse characters. The table we have here, they're all used as much as they need to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's going to be an element of padding because you need 10 people around the table.
And I kind of you kind of see Felix. He's just kind of there. He's a bit more prominent than the other members, other than like Bond and the Chief. He kind of
Well, he's positioned correctly on the table.
Yeah.
That when the camera's down that hand and points across them, Felix is in shot.
Yeah.
Sure,
and of course, like Felix is the only one who's kind of like adding like a little bit of like softness to the tension, a little bit like with,
and bleeding chips.
Yeah, or kind of like thinks someone knows something that we don't, or kind of thing.
So we've skipped around the story a little bit there because we actually did get as far as the last game where Bond wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually wins the game, people.
He actually wins the game. He wins with a hand that isn't immediately obviously a win. It is because it's a straight flush. But it's low value cards, and as a viewer you would have a moment where you're like, is that good enough? I think it's quite masterfully done, this sequence, and less so at the time, because like I said earlier in the podcast, I was much more sort of faces, reactions, words than the actual cards themselves. But as I go back and rewatch it now and actually pay attention to the cards, it's quite well put together. And Bond celebrates with a meal.
Yeah,
he goes and has some good grub.
Oh, he's caviar, doesn't he?
I can't remember what they go to eat, but he gets the restaurant to himself.
I bet the staff are just loving him. Just finish off table for two. Fuck's sake! You just imagine it, can't you? Like,
yeah, I know.
He's won the money, so he probably, will have that most expensive steak.
It's not really his money, though, is it?
No, that's true.
He's still able to give the croupier a tip. But
that's for you.
It's a good sequence, though. You can see Vesper warming up to him, even though she's still got the Algerian love knot on. But she gets a text about halfway through, and she says, "Oh, Mathis," and walks out. And again, this would add to the idea that, in our minds, that Mathis is slightly.
Yeah.
It wasn't from Mathis. She's lying. It's not from Mathis. She just needs to get out of there. And
it's a nice kind of like twist at the end, isn't it? As well, unless you've read the book, of course. But it's one of those things that's it's really cleverly done, and it's not the reveal isn't until right at the very end. So
basically she is taken off in a car. He realizes what's going on, runs out, jumps into his Aston, and you think you're going to get a big car chase. You don't. She is put in the middle of the road, which launches, but Bond, avoiding her, launches into what was a world record 7 rolls.
Yeah, so 7 3/4. So there.
So a world record, and I think there was somebody in that car. I'm not sure.
But yeah,
you have to, wouldn't you, to kind of get it to
it's
do
incredible.
It,
in one of the trailers, they hadn't framed it quite right, and you could see the sort of little ramp it went up.
Yeah.
In one of the trailers, but you can't in the finished film.
In the trailer,
it
kind of shows you why. You see Vesper in the middle of the road and Bond turning and it flipping. It kind of ruined that. Really, you kind of see just waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, it was in the music video as well, and but again, we get my friend Mathis, and he's taken.
And it looks great as well. It
looks really great. The stunt looks
amazing.
really great. He's put in the car with Vesper, who's. If you've ever gone on like a night out at the very end of the night you see some woman in a bar who's been crying heavily through a mascara or something, that's what it looks like. She's right in the corner looking really dishevelled and frightened.
Panda-eyed, bless her.
And he's taken to a secluded place to have his testicles whipped, which is in the book. It's a carpet beater.
Carpet beater or something, isn't it?
It's a carpet beater in the book. But they do it. They went there. And it was one of the guiding principles of this. They said that there were a couple of things they had to have in there. One was the last line, the bitch is dead.
Yeah.
And the other was the testicle beating. And they do it.
I think from that alone, with saying like these are the two things that have to be in the film, it just sets the film in total. Because how else can you can't really do like the typical Pierce Brosnan type Bond with that end line and like a hardcore torture sequence. Like sort of at the beginning of your third act. It's just a bit like
the torture sequence, like with the torture chair, and there wasn't enough. I think that was probably as hardcore as.
Well, he was tortured over the credits in Die Another Day, but it was only a handful of shots, and it wasn't particularly.
No, you didn't really feel.
It wasn't particularly hardcore.
Whereas here, you would really feel it. It's quite tough, and you just think, oh dear, you know.
Well, he's already.
I believe that he's being beaten.
You've seen throughout the film that fights. When he has a fight, he gets hurt. It's not. There are consequences to the violence. Physically, not just like emotionally or in other aspects. That there's he's already he's just had a car accident. He's already kind of beaten up. He's beaten a man already, and now.
And you can hear Vesper being quote unquote tortured in another room.
Yeah, and it's it's played really well. The chief's acting desperate because that's what he is. But then again, it's that kind of like, well, you kind of fucked because he said, well, if you kill me, you have nowhere to go to. He's like, actually, I can gut both of you right here now, and
you'll still welcome me with open arms.
Yeah,
you need what I know.
Yeah, and it's just like,
and then
fair
he says
fucking point.
The big picture.
Yeah,
which in reality, in that scenario, would he say those words and say them out loud? I don't know, but it's a nice cue to the audience back to what Judi Dench was trying to teach him at the start of the film. Don't go and kill one bomb maker when we're trying to bring down a network. And don't assume you're central to everything when basically we need to cut a deal with him one way or another. But he is shot by Mr. White because, again, he's gone to win back some money, staked in even more and lost.
Which is a bit odd because, I think Mr. White's a cool character, but you really think he's like proper hitman type guy? You just walk in and just kill everyone? Well,
we don't know enough about him, do we?
No.
But I can imagine that he would be quite happy to do it himself. Whether he would get his hands too dirty, I don't know.
No,
it's one clean shot to the head.
Yeah. I imagine he might have other guys with him, possibly. I don't know.
I think the only thing that gives it plausibility to me is when he's introduced to the Ugandans at the start, Mr. White's there in person. He and he's in. I don't know if you see him in Venice, but he is. He's in Venice at the end as well. Mr. White is quite hands-on. He stays in the shadows, but he's normally there.
He's there at pretty much most of the stages of the film, isn't he, really?
Yeah, he's there. So it kind of works for me. And it takes you by surprise if you haven't read the book. And I'm not sure if I had at this point. I might have done. But I didn't expect the Schiffer to be killed at the end of Act 2.
Yeah, and not by Bond as well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's unknown. But...
Yeah, so yeah, it's just a really well constructed story because it's just like it just twists and it goes, oh, it doesn't take the directions that you normally would suspect.
No, you wouldn't expect it, would you? No.
Yeah.
And then he's taken to some facility on what looks like Lake Como or something like that to recover.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It's Lake
Which
Como.
I imagine his testicles must have been swelled up like melons by now.
Yeah, but there is a deleted scene where he's rushed into the hospital as well. You can see he's in a very, very bad way. And the implication is it takes him weeks to recover.
Yeah, well, it will do because it's
he's quite shaken up, isn't he?
He's really quite shaken up. He's really badly hurt, and it's taking time to recover. And even when they come for Mathis, he's still sort of sat in the chair. He's not doing anything himself.
Yeah.
And Vesper is, in hindsight, again, it's a wonder of acting. You put it down at the time that she's worried about him and she's starting to fall for him and all that, all of which is true. But the tears in her eyes are quite simply the situation she's in. She now loves this guy, but Mathis has just been arrested and who knows what's going to happen to him. She's nearly got this guy killed. She's still under the yoke of what we later find out to be Quantum. So she's still in a very, very messy situation. But we do see them fall in love to a lovely piece of score from David Arnold. It's Vesper's theme again. Very, very pretty John Barry-esque score. And then I think it cuts to them on a beach, which is... Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, is that before I think there's another laugh in the film where a little finger line.
The little finger line. Yeah, if it was only your smile and a finger left, I'd still love you.
Yeah.
That's because you know what I can do with my little finger. And I just think, well, he must have a tiny knob. just use that. Honest. Or one of your bigger fingers. But anyway. But hey, you know. But the scene on the beach that follows is basically this film's version of On Her Majesty's Secret Service in the barn.
Yeah, I mean, I kept thinking of Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley running along the beach. Sorry.
It's all right. Yeah. So you
Walking
think it's
out-
still
walking
going to
out
be more
Platoon.
effective if
Yeah.
they come out of Platoon laughing? All right, fair enough. But he does talk about trying to leave with his soul intact, and that he loves her, and that he'll need one of them will need a proper job, and that's probably her because he doesn't know what one is.
Yeah.
And there are little echoes of the dialogue between Lazenby and Diana Rigg, and it's a very similar scene. And because they're on the beach and they're away from sort of civilization, if you like, they're on a deserted beach. She's almost able to convince herself briefly.
Mm.
And that's kind of like the book where, you know, for a while she thinks she can get away with it. And it's just seeing Gettler a bit later on that reminds her she can't. So we do look at this point, and we can't be because it's an early Bond film, but we look almost like we're heading for a happy ending.
Yeah.
Not like Draco's car. Not that type of happy ending. The name is Bond. James Bond. Yeah, that would have been pretty different. Well, Mr. White was on
It's
the
the only
floor.
happy ending Bond had in the car.
While you're down there, love.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Anyway.
And then they head for Venice, which again is a classic Bond.
It
location.
looks very striking though. I mean, I think it's one of the things that this film does well. It just looks great. I mean,
There's no double taking pigeons this time.
no,
Well,
but thing is, this is the same
Thank
person.
God.
This same
That
person.
pigeon was back in rehab for the 7th time. He wasn't available.
No.
Yeah, this is the same cinematographer as GoldenEye, who's a regular for Martin Campbell,
Right.
and it's like they both look vastly different. Both these films.
This one looks so much better, but Venice is beautiful generally. I can't. If you get a chance to go there, go. It's stunning. But yes, it's
Don't go in the
again.
height
It's
of
another
summer.
kind
It
of.
smells of shit.
If you go really early in the morning, avoid. Go late in the evening. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's another. Obviously, it's a Bond location that we've seen before. It's again kind of like Home from Home. But yeah, it looks superb.
But he tenders his resignation on his Sony laptop.
Yeah.
And
I wonder
placement.
what Wi-Fi he's got from the middle of a.
On a boat on Valparaiso.
yeah.
I was like, fucking hell, that's quite,
Yeah, he just posts to the laptop.
It's like
email.
This was
He
2006
just
as
doesn't
well.
have
So
paper handy, so he types it on there and then just posts to the laptop. But she sees Gettler, and that's described as similar in the book. This presence she sees with one eye.
oh really? I didn't know that was in the book. I
Gettler's
thought...
in the book. I mean, I can't remember. I don't think it's Venice, but she gets that moment of thinking, or that period of thinking, they could have a life, and maybe she's got away with it. And spotting Gettler tells her, "I'm never going to be out of this life. They've got me." And so it cuts them, and yeah. So then it cuts from there to them in a suite, in bed, and she jumps up and throws a dress on, which does make me think she's probably got no underwear on for the rest of the film. But that might just be me overthinking it. But they dress her in red as well, which is such a minor thing. But not only does it evoke Don't Look Now, Venice-based red, but also she's the only character in any of the shots wearing red, so she stands out.
Yeah, because red's like quite a striking colour anyway, so it would
Yeah, and she goes to the bank, but it turns out the text she's received is from Gettler, saying meet in half an hour. Bond is called by M, and the Treasury are wondering why the money hasn't turned up, and it's basically being taken from this account by Mr. White's lot. And he gets there just in time for they're basically in this abandoned building, and it's just.
I one of the things that sort of I really like about there's a line where it's all coming to he's realised that Vesper's the one who betrayed him, and it's all coming to is it what's the bad guy's name? The one
the one with one eye's Gettler.
Yeah, Gettler. They threaten to sort of kill him if he don't come out, and he without even thinking, he goes, "Allow me," and he's like, obviously he doesn't actually do it because he gets shot at.
Yeah.
But there's a tent like, no, he was just going to kill himself right there and then, and this kind of like almost like a mournful coldness to him. Like it's he's still cold blooded enough to do that, but this time it's like he's quite gutted about it. Yeah. But I just really love that kind of that idea. But obviously we get an action scene now, so.
And the action sequence is okay. It's quite sort of industrial. They're shooting nail guns at each other and stuff. Vesper shuts herself away, locks herself in. She knows she's going to drown in there. And you get a moment of fear just before the life goes out of her as well, which just feels so real. Obviously, none of us know what it's like to drown.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what kind of happens when you drown, because she makes her mind up, and it's just like...
But the reality of having to go through it, yeah.
I suppose that reaching out, isn't it? It ends on reaching out.
Just kiss his hand first. And I do like this scene, and I've never seen it as a big tack on particularly. It's part of the final act of the film. And then, of course, after he dies, he gets her out of there. That's shot on a soundstage, but they've artificially messed with the light so it does look like outside. And he goes a bit Pierce Brosnan. He has a good feel of her tits. He tries to revive her, and he's given her mouth to mouth, but it kind of turns into a kiss. Yeah. And I couldn't help but think of Pierce Brosnan.
Or Lazenby, because he does,
Yeah, but Lazenby.
Yeah, I must say, I thought more of Lazenby in this scene. Well,
yeah, it is. It's meant to echo that, but it was just him kissing dead women again. But it's a real heart-breaking scene, and he just acts it so well.
Yeah.
And Mr. White watches him, and you almost sense Mr. White's even feeling it slightly. His heart is absolutely open for the last time. So then we cut back to and after that we cut back to his boat.
Oh yeah, and he's on the phone to M, and the actual job's done. Bitch is dead. But also, it's like, it kind of like M kind of goes like, well, let's kind of prove Mathis' innocence. Like, no, just proves that she's guilty, not that he's innocent. Which is kind of like, fuck's sake, that's pretty.
You don't know what he's in on, and I mean, she's basically saying, "Well, you've learned your lesson then," which is just don't trust anybody in this game. Doesn't mean interrogate and torture everybody, but it means if we've got enough probable cause to like drag him in, we don't just throw that away because she was involved. We don't know. And at the end of the day, Le Chiffre did say my friend Mathis. I think that's not accurate. I think he was just throwing the scent off Vesper. But you've got enough there to pursue it a little. And I just love that. The bitch is deadline. But he's still got the phone. And you can see there's some sentimentality there still for her. And that gets explored more in the next film. But it's a good scene. I'm glad they put it in. The sad thing is that was the name of the last song on the soundtrack, which came out before the film. So you could go there, a bitch is dead. All right, okay. Bit of a giveaway if you don't know.
It's not really a spoiler alert, seeing as the book's 50 plus years old. So.
But most people who go to see this film haven't read the book.
Well, if you're a Bond fan,
but most people.
It wouldn't make enough money for just Bond fans.
To be fair, most people who go and see a film don't actually look at the soundtrack.
No,
I suppose that's true enough.
But it's like
in Star Wars even.
Yeah, it's like Qui-Gon's funeral.
Qui-Gon's funeral.
Yeah, it's like not only is it just a stupid thing to put there, but it's also a shit title for like a music piece.
There's the last line in the Casino Royale book as well, and I think I remember going to when I saw this upon release. There's one idiot who laughed at that line. I just thought, oh, you deep, I'm not going to swear.
You were censoring yourself even then.
Yeah, could have given him a slap if I wasn't sat sat at the back obviously with the other half. And I was like, right, if it wasn't, I would have punched them. So not there were people in the way.
Oh, that's just
Becca's quite violent, really, isn't she?
That is what. So if you had sat on the same row, a couple of seats away from him, you'd have got up and twatted this.
I would have gone,
Wow.
What? Got like a drum cymbal?
You really just got to chill out. Just go to the bar, have a wanked off, not fingered. The official drink of Do You Expect Us to Talk?
I'm gonna have to come up with a recipe, but not kind of.
We have got a recipe. Drink. It's just grim.
Yeah, no.
Just to remind listeners,
it's just a white wine spritzer. That's all it is.
White wine spritzer.
Vodka, martini, egg white,
vinegar,
and what was it? It's not pilchard juice.
Sardine juice.
Sardine juice. That's it.
Something like that.
So, and 2 olives.
Protein.
Because that'll improve it loads. So yeah, the final text from Vesper just says Mr. White and a phone number.
Yeah.
So he traces that, and we end up with
the
Mr.
first
White
time we hear the Bond Bond theme.
Yeah, Mr. White takes a phone call. Mr. White, we need to talk, and he's shot in the leg, and then you get Bond in a blue version of the Goldfinger Connery suit. Mm-hmm. Standing over him, announces who he is, and we go into the theme music for
titles.
Bond. And basically, I then came home and wiped all the jizz out of my pants.
What, every time?
Well, I'm not always. I'm sometimes at home watching it, so you know.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry as much.
Are you always wearing pants though?
No.
Oh.
No.
Just.
I can recommend Casino Royale al fresco.
Al fresco.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Becca.
So opinions. What do you reckon?
Opinions. Dave, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Every time I watch this, it's not the Bond film I watch most. I watch Majesty's a bit more, and I watch License to Kill more. But that's not to praise them more than this film. I think this film is one of the more intricate in the series, one of the better plotted in the series, one of the better shot in the series, one of the better scores, arguably the best leading performance. The leading lady is up there with Diana Rigg as one of the best leading ladies. Allies, you've got Mathis, who's up there with the Karen Bays and the Dracos. Le Chiffre is, although a low-level criminal, is expertly played by a guy who we know went on to have a terrific career thereafter. The set design is wonderful. Everything about this film is right. There is very little I can pick any fault in, which to my mind means that if it's either flawless or the flaws are so small that they don't affect the end result, what you've got is a masterpiece. 1 of 2 in the series. Love it.
I completely agree with Dave. It's the quality, the difference in quality, is just it's just eons. You go from even from one of the better Bond films, this just feels like not just a good film. It's a great film. It works on pretty much every level you care to stand on. If and I think it's really evident for people. I think you really sort of tell. I think when this came out, there were people who weren't Bond fans, and they went and saw it and really enjoyed it. And I think that is testament.
My father was an example.
Was he?
Not a Bond fan at all, but loved Casino Royale.
And I think that just shows just how good that film is in terms of it. It stands on its own as a great film that non-fans of the series will enjoy it and get something out of it. I
mean, any film can be your favourite in this series. Any film. If you like it, you like it, and you'll get no criticism for us, despite what we might say about those films when we review them. But to me, there are only 2 films that I would consider could go objectively at number 1, and it's this or Majesty's. They are the 2 best realised, and with most elements got right of anything in this series.
And daring as well, though. Both daring.
Both very, very brave.
And push a lot of the envelopes that you wouldn't to push.
And just slickly directed. This is the best film Martin Campbell has done. Not just out of. I mean, I don't think I think it surprised me. I mean, I always thought of him as a solid director, but this was just like a masterful.
I felt it would be good. I did not expect it to be great.
Yes. Yeah. That was just it. I was hoping it to be good. I mean, I walked out when I first saw it, kind of like I really liked it, but I kind of didn't really feel like it was a Bond film, but I instantly knew I wanted to watch it again. It'll probably work better on rewatch, and it's just kept going on improving as a rewatch. It just keeps me there. Like I think it came to the realization only after like 2 years where I realised I can literally easily watch this film, at any time. I just thought, well, that's the sign of a great film. I have to.
I know that. I mean, it did get me first time, but I mean, we talked about it as we went through the film. It starts off black and white, and you think, all right, bit arty farty, and then it cuts to that bathroom scene, and it cuts to considerably, and then that opening credit sequence, and you're like, yeah, they've done this, they've nailed this. Becca, what do you think?
Yeah, there's not really much else to say to add what has already been said, really.
Okay, good night, folks.
Bye.
No, carry on, Becca.
No, it's top 5 all the way. Maybe top 3, perhaps. But yeah, just everything about it's perfect. I mean, I think having Paul Haggis come along and do the not the rewrite, but kind of like the polish, as it were. Obviously, it's coming off the back of Crash, and that was definitely the right choice to make. We talked earlier about having Purvis and Wade create a entirely different beast from Dine in the Day to this film. Same with Martin Campbell as well. I mean, this is completely a whole different film compared to GoldenEye, which is one of my personal favourites. But here, I think everything feels right. The casting is great, spot on performances all the way. Set, music, lighting, just everything came together in a way that just felt completely 100% right. Any plot holes are really just kind of insignificant, really, and don't injure the film as a whole. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but nothing, there isn't one. This is like one of the best Bond films in a long time, and the best in Daniel Craig's tenure, definitely. Doesn't
it say everything though? That somebody posted, and we're grateful for you doing it. I think it was Simon Hunter. I think posted it, how it should have ended.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, that's an interesting plot hole I'd never thought of.
Yeah.
And as we get to it, it's not a plot hole. It's not. We've just explained it. It's in dialogue in the film.
Yeah.
It's not a plot hole. So if a series of skits that are designed to pick holes in films, the hole it picked in Casino Royale isn't a hole, that tells you something about the quality of the film.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there are bigger plot holes in minor films, but this is kind of it's quite tight, pretty much.
It's almost as if they thought it through.
You don't say.
Yeah,
see that one? Did I twisted on that kind of like a
clever,
little catchphrase of ours? Yeah.
Yep.
Good, not wanked off. I just think that, they did. They thought it through. And this is a bittersweet film for me now because we've had 3 films that follow it and nothing gets near it. And I do honestly think there's a very good chance and a very good likelihood that we've seen the best Bond film of our lifetime now. And that's not to say we won't get Bond films we enjoy, but you're not going to top this, I don't think.
You never know. Like at the moment, there's a bit of a... In the media, obviously, this is a good date of the podcast, but there's a bit of a rumour that Craig may not return. But we'll see what happens when Eon gives the official nod to that one. But so you never know. We could have another actor come along and it'll be like, best Bond ever, But I think, I'm pretty much, this is like the best one we have seen for a long time.
Corbett's dead.
Well, yeah. Damn it.
But yeah, an absolute masterpiece. I love it, and it's a film that I'm all the way through this series. We've just approached these podcasts as they come through. We don't feel any pressure on them. We just record them and have a laugh, and they're fine. When we got to Majesties, I felt a touch of pressure because it's my favourite film in the series, and you've got one shot. I mean, we could always re-record, but in terms of putting a show out on it, we've got one shot to do my favourite Bond film justice, and the only other time I felt that was tonight. Casino Royale is one I want to get right and explain why it's so great. And
Majesties is a bit of a Bond Marmite movie. I mean, a lot of people hate it, but a lot of like this and both Casino and Majesties are fan favourites as far as I understand it goes anyway. And it's like we have to do them justice, and it's another one that all 3 of us love universally. So you can't really, not really a bad word to say about it, but I think we have done it justice tonight. I think
if you go back and listen to the Majesties episodes, which all 3 of us named as our favourite when we were doing that last week, It's got less jokes in it. It's got less messing around. It's got funny bits in it, and Tonight has as well. But
well, it did have the back of a car.
Yeah, but it is truly about telling you as a listener
how much we love this film,
why we think this film is so special, and it's far less about doing jokes. And
apart from Hungry Hippos.
Yeah, Hungry Hippos.
So does that mean next week's going to be like Diamonds?
No, I think Quantum of Solace. I'll have a lot to say about it when we get there. It's not as bad as Diamonds.
No, I mean, to be honest,
it's incompetently shot and edited, but
I'm going to be defending Quantum anyway. So
I think I will a bit, but it'll be a very mixed response.
It's a good movie, but it's not an amazing Bond movie. You have to really look for those ingredients.
No, but the problem I have is it gets criticised a lot for being terrible, and when it's kind of mentioned, it's like, oh god, it's just awful. When they refer back to it from
it's an awful big screen experience.
And it's just like, well, it's not bad. It's pretty good in places.
Decent action movie.
Yeah.
If you kind of watch it through a lens of rather than like a Bond movie,
I would recommend watching it. I know it can devalue Casino almost by association, but I would recommend watching it right after Casino Royale.
Well, this is what I did today, and I think I've come out of it with a renewed appreciation.
I think, but what makes that a difficult call is more than most films in the series. Casino Royale really benefits from getting your full attention, not playing with your phone, not taking phone calls, not doing anything else. Really concentrating, and if you can stick it for over 4 hours, if you can do that and really concentrate for 4 hours back to back, you'll get a lot more out of Quantum of Solace, I'd suggest.
I mean, we'll talk more about Quantum next week, obviously. We'll delve into it. I may even watch it again, but I do kind of tend to stick up for that film. I may even say something controversial and say it's probably better than Skyfall, but. I won't say that.
So if you want to hear some insanity... I do think it's a very pretty film. I think it looks great. I think Craig looks great in it, and I think it sounds great. I think it's got quite a nice score. There are things I like about it, but it's incompetently edited. It's written a bit odd, and you can drive coaching horses through it, actually. But if you could... time is being quite kind to it.
I think I like it just as it's a continuation of this Bond that we have just seen, and I wanted more of that. Even though I thought, okay, this is a lesser film, but I'm fine. I want to see what he does next. Obviously, next one will probably be better. Okay, and I just feel, and I kind of have content for Skyfall and Spectre because it's a step away from that. It's like, oh, actually, you had one great one and one bad one, and because you have one bad one, you kind of feel like you have to move away from that completely. It's like, no, it's fixable. Just make a better film.
I do wish they'd stuck with Quantum. If Quantum then wants to morph into Spectre, but I think what I have to do with Casino Royale and with Quantum of Solace is forget the very clumsy tie-ins from Spectre. Just forget it. Just enjoy this film for what it is. Enjoy Quantum of Solace for what it is. The Craig run overall's been pretty good. I'll be fairly kind to Skyfall. Quantum's not as bad as its press, nor is Spectre actually, and. But yeah, we have passed the second and last masterpiece in this series. It's downhill from now, folks.
I wouldn't say that. We've got Skyfall to come yet.
Yeah, I'll be kinder to Skyfall.
It's downhill for now. I don't know. I'll be nice on Skyfall. All right. It'll be fine. I won't piss fans off. It's fine.
They may disagree with us. They may agree with us.
Octopussy's still the one that everyone's seething over.
Fans. If if you want to request us to go back and do Octopussy,
watch as Dave enjoys it again. This time with a legal blood alcohol limit.
That's fine. Where
social
can we?
Media.
Yes, it's social media time. David.
What are my fun facts?
Oh shit! Hang on a minute. Fun facts. Oh, I've just watched a masterpiece. Talked about it for 2 hours plus, and we get fun facts, Chris.
I can barely contain my excitement.
I haven't. I've just wet myself. I haven't.
Okay, Becca, what's your
Becca,
fun?
what?
Oh, I'm not going to bother now.
Oh, come on, you big tease. Come on.
Get my laundry bill then.
Come on,
I'll try and do something else,
we
know.
want
I'm not
facts.
soiling
We
myself
want
for
facts.
no reason.
We want
we
facts.
Were excited about fun facts. That's not a reason not to do them. Becca, fun facts.
Come on, you know the listeners would be disappointed now, so
I
come
know.
on.
We've got listeners out there at this point in the show that have got their lads in their hands, ready to hear some fun facts. And frankly, they're going to go limp if you don't sort it out quickly.
Okay.
No pressure, Becca.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Tom, I apologise if you're losing your erection, mate. It's coming, literally.
We were talking earlier about the stunt, which is a world record. 3 DVSs we used for that stunt, which is pretty impressive. And yeah, before Spectre, we're going to count down from 5. No, to number 4. Until Spectre came along, this is like the longest Bond movie. I always think it's interesting how you had the longest followed by the shortest. And obviously the Bond, when he orders the vodka martini, that was taken directly from the book. No naked ladies in the...
Wait, so which one was that?
Which
Which one was taken from the book? Bonnie says, "I don't give a damn."
Oh no, when he does, he gives the order from how he puts the martini.
Vesper martini, where he says no weight, 2 measures of Gordon's, da 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 da.
Yeah, orange slice of lemon peel, things like that. So.
I reckon there's been plenty of Bond fans who have actually made notes and drank that.
Yeah.
Well, it's available on the internet,
Do you expect us to talk? I feel sorry for people who are more identified as "do you expect us to talk" listeners. They're trying to gulp down fucking egg whites and sardine juice. Whilst purer Bond fans are drinking something that actually doesn't make you vomit.
I don't actually like the drum. I've had it, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I've never had a dry martini, or I think
it's quite bitter. I prefer like.
You just get to the bar and wimp out and ask for a dry wine spritz.
I go for like obviously the sweet kind. I don't like any kind of dry drinks, like dry wine. I'm like, rah, what's the point? Anyway, my final fact is the first film to be based on the Fleming's novel since Moonraker. So that's my 5 fun facts, people.
That's fun, folks.
I've got 5 more coming up for Quantum next time.
Yeah, and actually, because it's such a short film, that's a higher density of facts.
Yeah.
That's a fact, like just over every 20 minutes or so. I'd have thought.
Fact, Jack.
That should be the name of it.
It's a
That's
fact.
a fact, Jack.
It's a fact every 21 minutes.
It's just a shame that none of us scored Jack. Otherwise, that would just really been like.
Mm.
I think that's a line from the original Ninja Turtles opening sequence. That's a fact, Jack.
You only quote the best, don't you?
That's the Bond Turtles crossover you never expected to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, don't
that
give my ideas.
AFI 100 great quotes. It just beat Casablanca in the second place.
I'm pretty sure James Bond was on this at some point.
Yeah.
Top 10 in there at least.
The Blazenby version. My name's Bond! James Bond! I'm gonna fight you in a Freddy church! That was at number 4.
You know, to be fair, George, I don't think he actually quite says it like that. Hello,
No.
my name's
What,
Bond.
You're suggesting I might be
Hello,
exaggerating?
how are you? I'm Chipper.
Possibly.
Alright.
Anyway, where can you find us on social media?
You can find me at Cinematronics on Twitter, and you can find these podcasts that I do, as well as this one, at cinematronics.co.uk.
You can find me at the Pasty Kid 1976.
You can find me at RV Movies, which I still haven't changed my name, so if you've got any suggestions, let me know.
That's a fact, Jack.
But anyway, you can find us on Twitter at Expect Us to Talk, on Facebook.com/Expect Us to Talk, or you can drop us a lovely email, expectedtotalk@gmail.com, and we're also on YouTube, Expect Us to Talk, amazingly enough.
Yeah, why don't you throw it out on Twitter that say, like, what name should I get? And then...
Yeah, I might do.
We're not changing the show's name. I'm quite happy to shorten it to, Expect Us to Talk colloquially, but I'm not. We're not changing our name.
No, in terms of Becca's name on Twitter. What are you talking about?
Yeah, why does this come up about every 4 shows? It's like she'll either change it or she won't. We're making such a meal of it.
I just forget. I just don't have the time. So.
Yeah, it is a time-consuming process. I tell you what, I added on Twitter the other day. I added a question mark to our name. Took me 7 or 8 hours.
That confused
Oh.
everybody.
I was exhausted.
No, I don't tweet as much as I used to, so it doesn't really make a dent. So
Okay, fair enough. Well, you do tweet, but under the do you expect us to talk?
yeah, I probably tweet there more than I do underneath my
Yeah.
own handle.
With
So
all that foul language and
I know.
Oh, God, that
Extreme
statement about
opinions.
Daniel Craig the other day, that was filth, Becca. I can't believe that. You told the Sun, the Mail, and the Express to fuck off. You said the Mail was read by bigoted, what was it, racist fuckwits? Jesus.
Now, Dave, I think we all know who was behind that.
Lord Rothermere.
Anyway.
God.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So, seeing as Dave has just finished off,
Sadly, it is all downhill from here, as next week we review Question of Sport, Quantum of Solace. No, Quantum of Solace.
Good night, folks.
night.
Bye.